you by Bank of Africa. GASM.
Numbers. The Bank of Ghana's equity stood at negative 93.8 billion cedis at the end of last year, negative 6.7% of GDP. Our central bank is technically bankrupt, therefore, and the single biggest driver of that collapse in the 2025 was gold operations, Gold Board. Gold Board's own domain, 22 billion cedis. That's equivalent of the 1.7 billion US dollars in 1 year alone. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, let's call it what it is. These losses are not bad luck. You don't trade in gold and make losses. They are not a difficult market. They expose the crass incompetence of Gold Board's management and misaligned policy of the government. No serious institution loses this much money by accident. This is what happens when an untouchable few are handed the nation's gold with no one watching and no one willing to ask questions. Gold Board must tell Ghanaians the following. 1. What prices were paid for gold? How were those prices determined? What premiums, if any, were paid to secure the supply? How were international off-takers selected? At what discounts were Dow Gold sold? How much was earned by Gold Board in service and asset charges from transactions financed by Bank of Ghana? What commercial risk did Gold Board itself bear? What transactional risk were passed automatically to Bank of Ghana? What internal risk controls existed to protect the financier, the Bank of Ghana? What corrective measures were taken as losses accumulated? And most importantly, if Gold Board controlled critical part of the trading process, but Bank of Ghana absorbed losses, where precisely did commercial accountability reside? Any responsible government confronted with this 22 billion loss should immediately investigate whether the incentive structure encouraged excessive volumes, inadequate pricing discipline, or insufficient attention to trading costs. Majority, please, our motion is ready. We will file it before we get back next week, and we pray that you, the majority in Parliament, will fully cooperate with us, the minority. If government says there's no money to complete the Agenda 111 project, if government is still borrowing, yet it can find 22 billion. And this 22 billion, according to the IMF, is vanished into thin air.
The Gold Board, the Afenyo King says that the Gold Board has sold gold and made losses. And that no one should sell gold and make losses. When the tongue gold boka says those who recorded $400 million loss under domestic gold purchase program in 2024, according to the IMF, they are quoting. And this is also coming from the same people under whose tenure another state institution, MIF, implemented a gold purchase program and recorded losses to the tune of over $90 million. Today, they want to give us lectures on gold trading. Ladies and gentlemen, I have news for them. We will not take moral lessons from the brothel. Then number two, they say, why has the Bank of Ghana pulled out of financing the Gold Board if Gold Board is not making losses? Number one, the Bank of Ghana has not pulled out from anything. The MPP government decided that it will run a program called Domestic Gold Purchase Program, which will be managed by the Bank of Ghana. And they designed that program in a certain way, which I will talk about it. President Mahama promised to reset Ghana, including the gold trade sector. And his reset is the Gold Board. The act has been passed and the Gold Board is ready for takeoff. And so this new Gold Board model as envisioned under the Gold Board Act is not anchored on Bank of Ghana financing Gold Board. The Gold Board has been given the powers under Section 18 of the Gold Board Act by Parliament to raise money for itself from the financial markets. And so if the Gold Board wants to assert that statutory mandate, and for that matter, the Bank of Ghana has to end what it was doing under the domestic gold purchase program, you don't look at that and say, oh, that means Gold Board was doing something wrong. I can tell you that as we speak, the IMF and the Bank of Ghana are all engaging Gold Board that they still want to be our fiscal agents under the Gold Board model, where they will be raising money for us as an intermediary. It is the Gold Board that is rather saying, no, we will do it ourselves. So that claim is not true. And then you hear him say that, oh, Gold Board was being paid some fees, and it is because of the noise they made that the fees were reduced. Ladies and gentlemen, again, I brought evidence here, and if you need the evidence, I'll give it to you. That evidence is a letter dated October 29, 2025, way before the NPP ever held a press conference on Gold Board or domestic gold purchase program in 2025. Because the first press conference they held in the aftermath of the IMF report on domestic gold purchase program was in December. If you recall, we were celebrating Christmas at the time, December 2025. But by October 29, 2025, the Gold Board and Bank of Ghana, through negotiations, had reduced the fees to 0.
And this was the response of a press conference that Sammy Gyamfi had, that's the CEO of the Gold Board, strongly rejecting claims that this state-owned gold buying institution incurred losses of $1.7 billion in 2025 and describing those allegations as a bare-faced lie. I played what the minority, led by Alexander Penyong-Marking, also indicated in that press conference, as you just heard them. In fact, now the minority is being challenged to provide evidence for assertions as contained in that press conference I just played to you. The issue at play this morning is that there was a loss that was captured by the International Monetary Fund. Some have described it as transactional cost. And in fact, if you look at the IMF report, which you would spend some time to read, because all of this is coming out as a result of the IMF report, how they diagnose this particular issue. And then also what the way forward is with the introduction of GANRAP. Is that going to address the issues as has been identified by the International Monetary Fund? We have a conversation this morning on the Gold Board, the policy, the politics, and also the progress. Taking into consideration the conversation about whether this should be treated as a cost or a loss. This morning, we have economists, we have lawyers with vast knowledge in natural resource law who will be joining us to have a conversation this morning. And together with you as well, here on The Key Point. There are issues that are coming up as well that need some serious thinking, and then also to postulate for the way ahead of us and how this matter has to be dealt with, because in the end, the most important thing is taking a look at how this has also contributed to what we're experiencing now, how this can be done better, and how the issues that have been identified can be addressed. That's our focus this morning here on The Key Point. Many labor groups, civil society organizations, and that's what's coming up next. Local coalitions arguing that Ghana is currently losing the fight against illegal mining, also known as Galamsey. We've been on the ground. We've spent some time in the Itiwa forest this week, where there was a near bloodbath between two illegal mining groups. It had to take the intervention of NIMOS to stop this. Now, we would have some people join us into the studio. The Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey, in fact, the CEO of Chamber of Mines will be joining us this morning, Engineer Kenashigbe too. And then also Nana Bosompem, who is the Western Regional Manager of the Forestry Commission. He's been leading a group of forest guards or forestry guards into the forest. They'll bring us up to speed with the realities that we're faced with and the calls for a permanent military deployment in some of the forest reserves. We've seen new tracking policies for excavators and so on. The critics are pointing to persistent environmental degradation and the turbid water bodies as proof that the menace is far from controlled. This morning, we come face to face with the people who are spending some time or who have spent some time in the forest reserves. Yesterday, the Supreme Court delivered its ruling on this debate about whether or not it is constitutional to have certain cases heard during the legal vacation. Now, does this bring to an end this question or questions that have been brought or asked about this legal vacation and matters arising? Does it put to rest all other questions being asked so that this convention, as has been described by some lawyers, continues, or there are other lingering issues that have to be addressed? Is it just because of the political cases being heard, or there are actually real issues to be considered? We have a conversation this morning here on The Key Point. Stay with us. We're back shortly after this quick break. My guests already trickling in. They'll take their seats and then we would have a conversation. I am Alfred Akanse. Welcome. This is The Key Point, as always, brought to you by Bank of Africa and GASEM. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. Welcome.
In a world full of noise, clarity matters. Stories shape us, ideas challenge us. An honest dialogue moves us forward. This is a space for depth, where voices are heard and perspectives matter. Conversations with Dr. Abnanya Kwasumeni, coming soon on TV4.
Every dish tells a story. Every flavor carries a legacy. In this 20th legacy edition of Ghana's Most Beautiful, our queens take us on a delicious journey across Ghana, celebrating the traditional delicacies that have been passed down through generations, from how they are prepared and enjoyed to the unique flavors and health benefits. Discover the taste, culture, and heritage behind every dish. Support your favorite by dialing *713*13# or download the TV3 Reality app to vote. GMB at 20, celebrating culture, grace, and legacy.
Brought to you by
Gino Pomo Tomato Mix,
GTP, Geisha Black Soap, Kivo Gari 4-in-1 Mix, and Kivo Hot Pepper. Obwasi Numna Wumwankasa.
Incaressed by NK Pharma.
Heaven Black Mosquito Spray and Coil. Gastron from Ennis Chemist. Fratelli Calipo. Dragnet.
Global Wings Travel and Tour,
Lady Fort.
Vitamilk,
Vigatim, tough on malaria, easy on you.
Covered Cosmetics.
Ready White Oat.
This is Hot Issues, your passport to the most compelling conversations of our time. We go one-on-one with the movers and shakers, the thought leaders, and the game changers. We ask the questions that matter, and we don't back down. Tonight on Hot Issues, I sit with the man at the center of corruption investigations. Join me on Hot Issues here on TV3.
Hot Issues now shows on Sundays at 1 p.m. on TV3.
TV3, first in news.
The world around us is changing, not slowly, not quietly. In the north, the rains that once arrived in time don't come anymore. In the middle belt, rivers and forests disappearing overnight. Along the coast, the sea is swallowing land that families have called home for generations. Rising temperatures, failed harvests, homes lost to tides. This is not a warning about tomorrow. This is the world right now. TV3 and the German Embassy in Ghana. The conversation on climate, security implications in Ghana. The Climate Talks 2026. 5 cities, 5 conversations, 1 urgent call to action. Tamale, Bolgatanga, Kumasi, Keta, Accra, starting this June 2026. The climate talks are coming, and this time, the people most affected by Ghana's climate security crisis will be at the center of it all. Because the time for Ghana to act is now.
Connect FM Western.
Every dish tells a story. Every flavor carries a legacy in this 20th legacy edition of Ghana's Most Beautiful. Our queens take us on a delicious journey across Ghana, celebrating the traditional delicacies that have been passed down through generations, from how they are prepared and enjoyed to the unique flavors and health benefits. Discover the taste, culture, and heritage behind every dish. Support your favorite by dialing *713*13# or download the TV3 Reality app to vote. GMB at 20, celebrating culture, grace, and legacy.
Brought to you by
Gino, Pomo Tomato Mix.
GTP, Geisha Black Soap, Kivo Gari 4-in-1 Mix, and Kivo Hot Pepper. Obuasi Numna Wumwangasa.
Incaress by NK Pharma.
Heaven Black Mosquito Spray and Coil. Gastron from Ennis Chemist. Fratelli Calipo. Dragnet.
Global Wings Travel and Tour.
Lady Fort.
Vitamilk.
Vigatim, tough on malaria, easy on you.
Covered Cosmetics.
Ready White Oat.
By the fund's own numbers, the Bank of Ghana's equity stood at negative 93.8 billion cedis at the end of last year. negative 6.7% of GDP. Our central bank is technically bankrupt, therefore. And the single biggest driver of that collapse in the 2025 was gold operations, Gold Board. Gold Board's own domain, 22 billion cedis. That's equivalent of the 1.7 billion US dollars in 1 year alone. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, let's call it what it is. These losses are not bad luck. You don't trade in gold and make losses. They are not a difficult market. They expose the crass incompetence of Gold Board's management and misaligned policy of the government. No serious institution loses this much money by accident. This is what happens when an untouchable few are handed the nation's gold with no one watching and no one willing to ask questions. Gold Board must tell Ghanaians the following. 1. What prices were paid for gold? How were those prices determined? What premiums, if any, were paid to secure the supply? How were international off-takers selected? At what discounts were their gold sold? How much was earned by Gold Board in service and asset charges from transactions financed by Bank of Ghana?
They made losses. And that no one should sell gold and make losses. When they turn gold, boka. Says those who recorded $400 million loss under domestic gold purchase program in 2024, according to the IMF they are quoting. And this is also coming from the same people under whose tenure another state institution, MEF, implemented the gold purchase program and recorded losses to the tune of over $90 million. Today, they want to give us lectures on gold trading. Ladies and gentlemen, I have news for them. We will not take moral lessons from the brothel. Then number 2, they say, why has the Bank of Ghana pulled out of financing the Gold Board if Gold Board is not making losses? Number 1, the Bank of Ghana has not pulled out from anything. The MPP government decided that it will run a program called Domestic Gold Purchase Program, which will be managed by the Bank of Ghana. And they designed that program in a certain way, which I will talk about it. President Mahama promised to reset Ghana, including the gold trade sector. And his reset is the Gold Board. The act has been passed and the Gold Board is ready for takeoff. And so this new Gold Board model, as envisioned under the Gold Board Act, is not anchored on Bank of Ghana financing Gold Board. The Gold Board has been given the powers under Section 18 of the Gold Board Act by Parliament to raise money for itself from the financial markets. And so if the Gold Board wants to assert that statutory mandate, and for that matter, the Bank of Ghana has to end what it was doing under the Domestic Gold Purchase Program, you don't look at that and say, oh, that means Gold Board was doing something wrong. I can tell you that as we speak, the IMF and the Bank of Ghana are all engaging Gold Board that they still want to be our fiscal agents under the Gold Board model, where they will be raising money for us as an intermediary. It is the Gold Board that is rather saying, no, we will do it ourselves. So that claim is not true. And then you hear him say that, oh, Gold Board was being paid some fees, and it is because of the noise they made that the fees were reduced. Ladies and gentlemen, again, I brought evidence here, and if you need the evidence, I'll give it to you. That evidence is a letter dated October 29, 2025, way before the MPP ever held a press conference on Gold Board or Domestic Gold Purchase Program in 2025. Because the first press conference they held in the aftermath of the IMF report on Domestic Gold Purchase Program was in December. If you recall, we were celebrating Christmas at the time, December 2025. But by October 29, 2025, the Gold Board and Bank of Ghana, through negotiations, had reduced the fees to 0.6. Does that mean there was something wrong? No. What it meant was that the Gold Board was more efficient in aggregating gold, that they didn't need 0.75%. We conceded upon request by Bank of Ghana that we could do with little and still achieve better results. And number 2, the quantity of gold we're buying had gone up and gold prices have skyrocketed. And therefore, even if we reduce our fees, we knew that we could still cater for ourselves. So that was an act of patriotism and not because of the noise of a rabble-rouser. Afenyomarkin's continuing antics, and I want you to listen to me very carefully here. Afenyomarkin's continuing antics must therefore be seen for what they are: a desperate smear campaign by persons who have specialized in sophistry and political blackmail in pursuit of selfish ends. These are devious extortionists who will come at you with lies to tarnish your reputation in the hope that you will fold and settle for what they call, quote, compulsory arbitration, and oil their palms. Well, this time around, they found their own target. The Ghanaian people deserve serious public discourse founded on facts, evidence, truth, and not endless recycling of falsehoods in the hope that repetition will lend them credibility and turn fiction to facts. Gold Board will remain focused on its mandate. We will continue to account transparently for our stewardship, and we will not be distracted from the important work of creating value for the Ghanaian people from the exploitation of the gold resources.
Well, you've heard both sides, and I just took time to play both sides so you understand the issues that are being debated and the responses that have been given as well by both sides. Welcome back. This is Key Point on TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com, also on the Voice of London radio in the heart of the City of London and Voice of London television as well. And this morning, we're on Kesme 107.9 in Tamale and a number of radio stations across the country. Now, after hearing both sides, the conversation that we're going to be having this morning captures a number of things that both sides have also been talking about and what exactly the picture looks like, right from the inception of this gold for oil, gold for reserve, domestic gold purchase program, and now we'll end with GANRAP, because this entire, what economists will call metanomics, of we leveraging our resource started from a point, and there's clear justification for that, because if you look at our peers, Mexico, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, they are all thinking around the same path. All right, so why don't we make the most out of our gold? Now Ghana is the largest producer of gold on the continent, number 6 in the world. Certainly, it must count for something. So we're going to be looking at the dynamics. We asked for some information as well from the central bank, the Bank of Ghana, because look, this is not the first time we're having this particular issue come up. Earlier in the year, when the Bank of Ghana's losses came up, this conversation was central to it. But now it's become much more expanded because of the figure, the loss and the cost that has been put to it now. From the previous figure that we were communicated to when this Bank of Ghana issue came up, and now this $1.7 billion that the IMF has captured in this report. Now, I'll read the IMF report in full so that you would understand exactly the wording and the context, the detail of this IMF report, and also what the IMF diagnosed as the challenges with this particular situation or this policy. So we look at the politics and the policy itself, the progress that has been made, and the concerns that have been raised. But before we get into the details, I guess taking the seat already, before I lay the foundation for this conversation, Martin Kpebu is joining us. He is a private legal practitioner and then also a member of the oral preparatory team. Martin Kpebu, good morning.
Morning, Mr. Okansi. Can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly. Thank you for joining us.
Okay. Good to be here. So quickly, the rituals. Today, I think we will start with the men above 40. That we encourage you, we exhort you, we motivate you to do the prostate check, right? Yeah, because a nation cannot exist if it doesn't have men. So please, if you're a man above 40 years, you should be heading this to doing the prostate check so that you can have good prostate health, right? And also those men who pee. Yes, yesterday now circulating on social media showing how men can put a cork on top of a bottle so that in any corner you can pee into a bottle instead of peeing on the ground or peeing publicly, right? We should be stopping it. Once we have iPhone 17s, the best, the latest cars, suits, etc. Why do we still have to pee when there are nations that when we go there, we cannot pee. Even in the middle of a bush, you cannot pee, right? And number 3, let's thank Nana Ansakwa of Joy FM, Osiadeyo Ajimabedu, the second, Garmanche, Kentucky Tech, the second, Tobe Afede, and then Sophie Kufuya Santua. Thank you. Dr. Erika Amankwa, Noche, the Usumanche, Dr. Bashiru Kikimoto, etc. All of you, thank you for being there for this country, and we expect you to do more into the future. Thank you.
All right, Council, thank you so much for joining us. Also joining us this morning is the Member of Parliament for the Akwatia constituency. They do a lot of mining, so he has a direct interest in this conversation and how that also impacts on his constituents. That is also a private legal practitioner, Honorable Bernard Bediako Baidu. They call him BBB for short. Is joining us in the studio. Honorable, good morning.
Good morning, my brother.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. Also joining us is the Executive Director of the Center for Policy Scrutiny and a senior lecturer at the Economics Department at the University of Ghana, Legon. Says they are preparing for exams, so he has a lot to do. But he made some time to join us this morning. Dr. Edu Owusu Sarkodie. Doc, good morning.
Good morning, Alfred. Thanks for having me. Exams time, so
indeed
we're all busy.
Absolutely.
But my community people said we should tell Honorable and the government that we should fix our road. New Legon.
New Legon.
New Legon, yes. Our road is not in good shape at all.
So the New Legon area, they just give us some Adenta New Legon.
As close to Lakeside.
Oh, right.
So they are watching us.
Is that part of the big push? Honorable?
Honorable cannot answer now.
No. But we are not the infrastructure we are seeing all over the country. Of course, you can attest to what we are seeing. It's not just about the big push. That's a special project. The normal, ordinary, when I put it that way, you understand. Road projects are also ongoing. My constituency, for instance, a lot is happening there, but it's not under big push. And so, maybe. But you see,
to get your attention.
When you hear neutrals or professionals start this way, you can understand what
I'm only a messenger for
no problem. So you are a messenger for your community. So you may want to legitimize it, being a legitimate messenger.
Indeed.
It happens.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Ambassador Michael Quay Jr. is going to be joining us shortly. He is Ghana's former High Commissioner to India, also a private legal practitioner with extensive knowledge in natural resource law. He's going to be joining us this morning. We'll have a conversation. Also, Professor Godfred Bobkin will be joining us shortly as well. He is a professor of finance at the University of Ghana Business School. He will be joining us as well as we have a conversation. As I did indicate to you, a lot has been said. We need to look at the full picture as we progress and the conversation about how the next phase of this program is going to be. I'm talking about the domestic gold purchase program that has been wrapped up. If you've been listening to what the CEO of the Gold Board himself has been saying, plus what the Bank of Ghana itself has been saying, having won itself of this entire program. Now, Gold Board is in charge of the entire process. Now, with the gun wrap, after earlier this year, March, when Parliament approved this policy of gun wrap, and how the next phase will be. Is it going to address the issues of the losses as we have seen? And that leads us to the big conversation this morning, because we requested some information from the central bank regarding this whole, we started from the gold for oil, gold for reserve, domestic gold purchase program, and now we're talking about gun wrap. Some persons who have been looking at what is happening now regarding what the IMF pointed out state the root of this entire program, pointing to how this program was conceived, that the conception of this program in itself was designed to make losses so that we can use that process or the pricing mechanism to address the matter of smuggling, because we were losing so much to smugglers when it comes to gold production in this country. Is that a justification for the loss so that the Bank of Ghana, as we have seen with the pricing mechanism, goes onto the open market, buy gold through Gold Board or previously PMMC from these artisanal small-scale miners at the open or prevailing forex rate? They come, and the conversion or the FX spread then leads to a discount. That discount then leads to the loss that we are seeing right now. And earlier, when I engaged the central bank officials on this show, they say that the objective of the program was also to tackle smuggling. So that was the cost of achieving all what we have been talking about now, and all the forex that has come in to inject into the economy, show up the value of the city, and so on. Is it a justifiable cost? The evidence, we're going to look at it. And then also, how do we treat this $1.7 billion that the IMF has just also pointed to us? But this is what the central bank gave to us when we asked, and this is a document which I want you to stay with me closely. This is it. As you can see there, we'll put that on the screen. Request for information. That is, the matter of this ASM and then this gold for oil, gold for reserve, the net loss over time. And we need to understand how this program has played out over the years. Specific to 2022, and this was earlier shared by the central bank and then also by the Gold Board itself. You'll find on their website. 2022, just about under 1 ton of artisanal small-scale gold was involved in this program. We're talking about total quantity in terms of tons, almost 4 tons. And then the value at the time was $194 million. Even in that year, 2022, there was a loss of $74.4 million, thereabout. Fast forward to 2023, when the volumes increased in terms of the value of gold bought from the artisanal small-scale miners, you see the value of the loss also increasing to a little over $317 million. This was all under the gold for oil program. Then that period, we saw the introduction of the gold for reserve program as well. There was a loss of a little over 1 million Ghana cedis within that year as well. The combined net loss of the gold for oil and the gold for reserve program in the year 2023 was a little over 1.3 million Ghana cedis at the time. Now, that's 1.3 billion, I beg your pardon. Now, in 2024, when the quantity increased as well, we saw the loss in value also increase. In 2025, and follow me closely, and this is what happened in 2025 as has been established. Now, at least the Bank of Ghana document gives us a basis for what we have seen over time regarding this particular program. And this is it. 2025, when we saw a little over 191 tons, metric tons of gold traded, this is what we got in terms of value. And from 2024, over $10.3 billion that we got in Forex coming in as a result of this program. That increased astronomically to over 20 billion, almost 21 billion in Forex value or reserves that we got in terms of the value of the Forex dollars that we got from the trading of gold in 2025. Because that program was expanded and the Gold Board continuing what they inherited from the PMMC under this gold for the domestic gold purchase program. So this is established, and in fact, this has been accounted for. Now, with what we are seeing now, and this is what I ran through earlier regarding the expansion of the program and how the artisanal small-scale mining has now become the largest in terms of the production of gold on the market from Ghana. Fast forward to what the reported loss is and what we have seen over the years. This is what earlier was reported by the central bank in 2025, a little over 9 billion. Then fast forward now to what we are talking about regarding the IMF's $1.7 billion, which is way higher than the 9 billion that the Bank of Ghana reported, in fact, which the IMF also highlighted in their earlier report, which was the major issue for our discussion earlier in the year with the central bank. So, what exactly did the IMF see in this particular report that has been referenced? And this is the report by the IMF. Lessons from the Bank of Ghana's domestic gold purchase program. IMF. And you have the author there. This page is what has been the major reference. DGPP operations generated significant losses for the Bank of Ghana. I've extracted what you're seeing there so that you can read it quite clearly. This is it. It says, losses in 2024 were equivalent to almost $400 million. That is 0.5% of the gross domestic product, 1/3 of which were related to gold for oil. In 2025, the significant scaling up of the domestic gold purchase program operations led to losses of over $1.7 billion, almost entirely related to gold for reserve door purchases. This is what the IMF is saying. This amounted to a loss of 17% of the value of door gold sold by the Bank of Ghana. Losses accrued on gold trades are a combination of service and assay fees paid to Gold Board. Losses and assay fees paid to Gold Board. Discounts on Gold Board sold to off-takers, I beg your pardon, there's a discount on gold sold to off-takers, that's exporters. So this is where, these are the reasons the IMF is giving for the losses. One, the assay fees paid to Gold Board, combination of the services, discount on gold sold to off-takers. Now, we would understand why the IMF is classifying the assay fees paid to Gold Board as a contributor to the loss, as are captured, the $1.7 billion. And does that also make Gold Board answerable to the $1.7 billion loss as well to the central bank? And most importantly, exchange rate losses from the spread between the Forex Bureau rate paid to purchase gold and the CD reference rate used for the Bank of Ghana accounting. So the IMF itself diagnoses the most important contributor of the losses being the spread between the Forex Bureau rate paid to purchase gold and the CD reference rate used by the bank or used for the Bank of Ghana accounting. That's where the big issue is. That's what the Bank of Ghana officials, they call it the Forex differentials or the rate loss, the rate gap loss. These accounting losses, and so the first time you hear the IMF introduce that accounting terminology, accounting losses, is in their report. These accounting losses partly reflect valuation effects rather than economic costs. But they weaken the Bank of Ghana balance sheet and imply transfers to recipients of FX at the reference rate. So we understand why those who say that this must be understood, this loss must be understood in a particular context as it being accounting losses. And what the IMF also talked about, economic costs and a transactional cost. All of this has been put out. We have the right people to help us go through all of this conversation in a very professional way. Also joining us, as I indicated, the Honorable Aaron Michael Quaye Jr. is former Ghana High Commissioner to India. I indicated as well, is still eyeing the Dom Kwabena seat, regardless of all the others. And then also having extensive knowledge in natural resource law, is joining us. Ambassador Aaron Michael Quaye Jr., good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. When I hear anybody refer to me as Aaron Michael Quaye, then I see he's too close to my father.
Indeed.
Which I know you are. Mm-hmm. Mine is different. Mine is Michael Aaron Quaye.
Mike Aaron Quaye. Junior. Thank you for joining us this morning. Earlier this week, we had Sarah Jasafo indicate she's going to contest again. Does it send any shivers down your spine?
Oh, I mean, this is a very good media topic that would ordinarily...
Yeah, we've seen...
And that is what I was going to deal with. I mean, we saw certain flyers flying around.
True.
So we are observing, but most importantly, what I have heard is her saying that she was not going to run again.
Absolutely.
And that she had other higher ambitions. Dome Kwabena is a place where we are building a lot of bridges, I'm sure, as you've recently seen in our activity. And most importantly, she has served the community for 3 terms. I think if you look at the history of Dome Kwabena, she is in effect the longest serving MP. So there may be some people who would, I would say, mischief makers, who may also want to come up with that kind of suggestion. But that's her decision, because 3 terms is enough. And most people would not have expected that there will be, a post that she's coming. Nevertheless, as I said, we have not heard from her. What we have heard is that she was not running again. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. As to the shivers down my spine, I won't answer to that. But
so for now, you keep this at mischief makers who are trying to play mischief. So long as you haven't heard from Ajasafo herself.
Yes, what we have done before, we can do again. So there's no problem at all with regard to that. But other than that, Dome Kwabena is fine, MPP is going well. In fact, who knows? We may even be able to deepen democracy by not necessarily even having an election, but maybe having a consensus like they do in other constituencies, and even maybe have one candidate. So we'll see how it goes. Everything is well.
Certainly, thank you very much for joining us this morning. And for good reason, I'm going to start with you, Dr. Edu Osusa-Akodie, as well, because I took some time to read what the details of the IMF report is, because some persons who are even commenting on this particular issue haven't taken into consideration exactly what the IMF said in its report and what the details of this particular report on this Bank of Ghana domestic gold purchase program is. Now, if you look at what the G4R brought to us in terms of the quantum of losses and the quantum of gains, big issue is, and do you understand this whole controversy from where you sit? Really, what's the issue all about? Right.
Well, okay, so good morning once again, and thanks for having me. Let me start by commending the originators of the domestic gold purchase program, which has brought us this far, because like you said in your introduction, Ghana, we are #1 producer of gold in Africa, #6 in the whole world. We produce similar gold as Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Mexico, and these countries have their reserves around 120 for Mexico, 382 for Kazakhstan, 368 for Uzbekistan. Ghana today, we have 24. So the idea that we have to do something to take advantage of the gold that we have in abundance here to increase our reserves is a solid idea. Number 2, I think the communication of this thing has not been the best. And it's similar to what happened to when we're discussing the BOG financial, records, statements for 2025. It took the majority in Parliament to hold a press conference, and of course, you would expect the minority to also rebut. But we were expecting the BOG governor himself or deputies or the communication department to call the press and some of us, the researchers, to explain to us what has been done and why we have these loss or costs, as you may put it. The same with the gold board. I think Sammy Gyamfi is a very good communicator. You could have called the press, let us know that this and so is what we have done, and this is the cost. And all of us will understand. But the
that
way
is
the whole
before
thing,
the IMF comes out.
Exactly.
That we should have heard from these institutions.
Yes, of course.
That's BOG and
then the
gold
board.
Before the IMF comes to tell us even $1.7 billion.
So-called quote-unquote noise around this. Of course, we have over-politicized this loss cost issue. And in fact, the bigger elephant in the room is the program itself, the benefits we are getting. And that should be our focus on how to minimize the cost going forward. But we have spent so much time about apportioning blame, who is to bear the cost, is it sitting in the books of Gold Boy, is it sitting in the books of BOG, etc., etc. Let me make this point. On one set, I think I wasted my time trying to explain who should bear the cost and all that. But on this set, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to pass one statement and I'll go on with my other submissions. It is a Bank of Ghana program. And so everything must sit in the books of Bank of Ghana. However, if Gold Board is taking credit for the reserve accumulation, that is why the other argument is that if you are taking credit or you want to be part of the credit taking, then you should be blamed for the losses. So if you look at the audited financial statements of Gold Board, you don't see these things, these figures that you are mentioning, but you see them in the BOG audited financial statements. So that should have settled the matter. So my other point is the design. The model that we are using to increase our reserves by purchasing gold domestically from the artisanal and small scale, by design, Alfred, by design, I think this loss was expected. By design.
I see. So that's what I was pointing to. So from the inception or the conception of this program in itself, based on what the Bank of Ghana itself provided to us, it incorporated a certain element of a loss.
Yes. So by design of it, what is the design? The model that is being used is to provide incentives to achieve a certain goal. What is the goal here? Increase reserves so that when we need dollars to show up the value of our currency, we can have enough dollars. That is the objective, okay? And also to control smuggling. So, first of all, you want to incentivize the miners to give their gold to you other than selling their gold abroad. You provide price incentives. You're also giving them a higher forest rate. You are giving them the Forest Bureau rate instead of Bank of Ghana rates. And you are providing all manner of tax incentives. You have abolished the 1.5% withholding tax on the small-scale miners. So by providing all these incentives to achieve the objective of reserve accumulation and control of smuggling, this loss was expected. So the conversation should be, how do we minimize the loss going forward by achieving the same thing? And that takes me to my next point on optimization. In economics, we always teach optimization. Let me break it down. When we are running 100 meters, the one who wins the 100-meter race is the one who uses fewer seconds to run it.
Right.
So if somebody uses 15 seconds to run 100 meters, you ask the question, could you have used 10 seconds to run it? And I think that this loss of 1.7 is not the optimal loss. It could have been lower. But the design as it is now is expected. So we can actually do something about the design so that we can have a minimum loss and be operating at the optimal point. And this position of optimization, honestly, when you listen to the posture of the finance policies that you ask the Minister of Finance, why are you not spending? He said, I'm not getting revenue, that's why I'm not spending. Is it optimal? No. The optimal level is that you must raise and spend. Because when you cut, you don't have revenue, that's why you are cutting, you are sacrificing projects. But if you raise revenue, you achieve your objective of a smaller budget deficit, a smaller primary balance, and also get your projects done. If you listen to BOG, looking at their 2025 financial statements, they will tell you we want to bring inflation to 5%. That's why we sterilized over 90 billion Ghana cedis at a cost of 16.7 billion. Is it the optimal level? No. They could have sterilized maybe a fewer amount of money to get maybe 8% of inflation because their own medium-term target is 8 plus or minus 2. So why sterilize so much, incur so much cost to get 5%? If you listen to this gold board and domestic gold purchase program narration, it's the same thing. We want to accumulate reserves, and so it's coming at a cost of 1.7 or 22 billion Ghana cedis. Is it the optimal? No. But the design is given at this cost. So we should focus so much on optimization. And there are two ways of doing it, as we teach in the classroom. Giving your output minimize cost, and giving your cost maximize output. In this case, our output here is to get reserves, so we must try as much as possible to minimize all the cost components that you mentioned, the fees, the services, the forest differentials, and then also the tax that we have given away. Let me touch on the forest differential, which forms a greater part of the laws that we are discussing. The spread between the Forest Bureau and the BOG rate.
If you can hold on to that point,
yes.
Because I just wanted to just bring you back a bit to this matter that you raised regarding the optimization of the cost.
Yes.
The point is that the cost of $1.7 billion could have been lesser. That's your view.
Yes.
If it was optimized.
But the current design will not allow that.
Perfect. Because then I was pointing to the design in itself so that the IMF itself in this diagnosis of this whole program said the $1.7 billion loss is primarily as a result of the significant scaling up. So that when the loss, if the loss was 400 at a particular scale, for as long as the program was expanded, the loss associated with the design of the program would lead to automatically an increase in the loss.
Yes.
Or the cost of the program, isn't it?
Plus the premium you are giving, plus the exchange rate differentials. If Gold Board was buying the gold at BOG rate instead of Forest Bureau rate, the loss would have been lower. But we are providing incentives. And that is why, per its current design, all these loss or costs are coming on board. There are also other, so I was talking about the spread. Let me spend some time on the spread between the Forest Bureau and the BOG rate. The higher the spread, the more inefficient the BOG intervention has been. What is the intervention and intermediation? Of course, I have my own problem with the semantics, but let's deal with that later. So the BOG is giving, dollars to control the depreciation of the currency. With some conditions, with the commercial banks, he's able to control that. But with the Forest Bureau, who deal directly with the retailers, they are unable to control that. So you have an intervention that is keeping low your forest at the BOG forest at the banks, and it's not able to control the forest rate at the Forest Bureau. So that's why you are having that gap widening. In fact, in June 2025, the spread was as wide as over 20%, getting to 25% spread. Meanwhile, the years before, 2023, 2024, the spread was around 10% thereabout. So the bigger the spread, the more inefficient the policy has been. But it is important to see, or it's refreshing to see that the spread is declining, which means that the gap between the Forest Bureau rate and the BOG rate is reducing. And the other issues that I want to touch on is the other costs that we have not mentioned so far. That's why the BOG is using the term accounting costs and not economic cost. Because economists will always look at the opportunity cost of anything. First of all, we have given away the 1.5% withholding tax. If you do your simple calculation, that's about 164 million, about 2 billion Ghana cedis that has been that has been more or less lost is not gotten as a revenue. There's also the opportunity cost of the money that the BOG has given to the gold board. And it's not direct, you cannot directly see that how much BOG gave to the gold board to purchase the gold from the small-scale artisanal miners. It's not direct. But you can go back and do the calculation backwards, and you have a sense of how much they gave them.
Have you done that calculation?
Yes. You've given, so Gold Board was able to raise $10.9 billion, and then the loss is $1.7 billion. You have to put the two together to have a sense of how much actually Gold Board, BOG gave to Gold Board. That's roughly about $12.6 billion. Use the exchange rate of about 12. You're talking about 155 or 156 billion Ghana cedis money that we think, was given to Gold Board. So that 155 is more than half the total revenue and grants of the year 2025. Because total revenue and grants for the year 2025 was 224.8 or 0.9 billion. So 155 billion is more than half. And these are projects that have been sacrificed, to get the reserve accumulation. So that's the opportunity cost of that. So it's a capital. And we have talked about the tax revenue forgone, then the environmental cost. The distraction to the environment, environmental economists will always say we have to calculate the environmental cost and deduct it from our GDP so that we know the net GDP. It's sometimes interesting to hear whether they are buying from galamseyers or not. But this is a scenario, I cannot say the answer, but this is a scenario, this is what I'm seeing. You see that the smuggling gap. The smuggling gap is being closed. So if the smuggling gap...
That's one of the objectives of the program.
Exactly,
itself.
which has been achieved. That's why I'm saying that look at the bigger picture, the objective. And it's one of the objectives. But if the smuggling gap is closed, and we have illegal mining in Ghana, then where is the gold going? Where is the illegal mining gold in Ghana going? Obviously, one will say they are being bought by Gold Board. Okay, so if that is the case, then we should look at also the environmental cost of that. Look at our water bodies. The land is no longer arable for agricultural production, etc., etc. Then I was also looking at the fact that we also have to look at some of the benefits that we have gotten as a country. So whilst we are looking at the cost, we spend so much time talking about the cost. We should also spend some time to talk about the benefits, the reserve accumulation, as I've indicated, smuggling control, as I've indicated, the stability of the cedi. This will also feed into credit rating. The fish, their credit rating will also give us investor confidence. You get FDI, you get investors doing business with you. I'm sure importers will also gain, make more profit. So these are all benefits that sometimes it's difficult to quantify. And I think the BOG or Gold Board should have this cost-benefit analysis.
But on the thing about the cost-benefit analysis, you have some who say this $1.7 billion should not be seen as a loss in itself, the treatment of it. You would rather want to look at it as a transaction cost. Dr. Steve Mantia, as one person was saying, so that you would net the gains against the cost of $1.7 billion, which you referenced briefly, the over $10 billion that has come in as against the $1.7 billion cost to the implementation of this program. So if you do that cost-benefit analysis, you'd want to see this as a transactional cost in itself, because the IMF itself in its report talks about the accounting cost of it, not necessarily as a loss in itself. So they treat the $1.7 billion in a particular context of as an accounting cost.
Like I said, the BOG has given money to Gold Board to make some purchases. So you add how much receipts they got plus the loss, that will be about $12.6 billion. So in the books of BOG, that should have been the revenue or the inflow. But you're having an inflow of 10.9. So the difference is the loss. So if you use the accounting principle in that sense, there is accounting cost or accounting loss. But maybe my position as an economist is making me biased to look at a bigger picture of economic cost, where you look at both direct and indirect benefits, direct and indirect costs. That's why I'm saying that you can go beyond this because the conversation should not be limited to this $1.7 billion or 22 billion cedis. The conversation should go beyond that and look at the bigger picture of all the direct and indirect costs, all the direct and indirect benefits, because it's a policy. Remember that it's a policy. That's why some people will, make the argument that Gold Board is not there to make profit, and somebody will say, are they there also to make losses? Let's limit our conversation to the policy. We want to aim at a certain policy. And what is the cost that we are willing to give out as a country to achieve that aim? And that is why we need all this cost-benefit analysis to evaluate what has been given up and what has been attained. BOG and the Ministry of Finance and maybe Gold Board, they have the resources. If they are unable to do this, to contract me to do that as a consultant, we will do that for them. And so we should look at the bigger objective and all that, so that we can actually situate the conversation, because it's a public good. It's a public good, and we must look at the other benefits of that.
I see.
My next point is on the monopsony status of Gold Board. Monopsony is when you are the sole buyer. Monopoly is when you are the sole seller.
So now you're moving into the status of Gold Board, because you've diagnosed a number of things. I want you to hold on to that point. Because you said you didn't want to spend so much time on where the law sits, but it's also central to this conversation as well, because that's been one of the major issues.
And I concluded by saying that it sits in the books of BOG.
It sits in the books. So your conclusion is that this 1.7 billion...
It sits in the book of BOG.
Sits on the book
but if Gold Board is claiming credit for the reserve accumulation, that is why the other argument is that if you are claiming credit, then you should also take part of the blame.
Financial economist and expert in finance as well, Senor Hosi is joining us. He is one of the founders of the One Ghana movement. Senor Hosi, good morning to you. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Yeah, good morning, Alfred, and good morning to your viewers. Today is a difficult day for me.
It is indeed.
But God is good, and I take the opportunity to extend my condolences to the Kutoche family. Serene Insurance, First Sky, they lost their brother.
Yeah.
George
Kutoche.
George Kutoche, a very, very fine gentleman. Very sad circumstances. And I want to encourage our gentlemen, everyone, let's take our health checkup quite seriously. And when you can afford it, spend enough on your health. It's the only thing you have, your life.
True. Thank you. Thank you very much for those words as well. And Professor Godfrey Bopkin is going to be joining us on Zoom shortly to have his take on this particular issue as well. Because of how you started diagnosing where this loss should sit and who should share in the loss. You mentioned the calculation of how much, for instance, the Bank of Ghana gives to the Gold Board. The thing is, Sammy Jemfi mentioned 133 billion.
Okay.
At the press conference, during the press conference.
The exchange rate they use is different.
Yes. So that's just direct variation to 150. You put it at 150.
Yeah, because
55 billion.
Used. Yeah.
Perfect. So that I just ran through the statement. I realized that that's what he mentioned. But then again, if you look at the IMF report, and I'm coming to you, Senor, because you have limited time with us. Listening to Dr. Edu Osusakodiye point to exactly how this $1.7 billion should be treated. It sits on the books of the Bank of Ghana, yes. But then if the Gold Board is also taking credit for the expansion or the reserve accumulation, then they also, from where you say, should share in the cost of the 1.7 billion loss. Senor.
We all base the policy argument when we keep talking about where the loss is sitting or is not sitting. I mean, the facts are clear. The policy is a policy of the central bank, and you have Gold Board as an agent and an operator of that policy. There's no loss sitting at Gold Board, so let's all stop this conversation. But there's a loss sitting on Ghana, and again, we shouldn't stop talking as if we are oblivious to. We are blind to the fact that there's a loss that's been incurred, and we took time early in the year when this thing broke up to educate people that what you see as a loss as reported, it does not necessarily mean it's a wrong thing or it's a bad thing. It depends on what that loss means. In that instance, that's when the argument and the explanation came about what what the policy and economic cost of something. You have to look at it from the policy returns associated with it, whether we have realized it or not. And I think that shifted the conversation after the publication I put together.
True.
And I must note that my education came from the University of Ghana, the only university in the whole of Ghana. Asiken Ashigbe, he went to a technical school, advanced technical school. Ashigbe, next time this is your doctor, then go to a proper school to help you. You understand? And my colleague, my brother Sarkodie too is here. So
tongue in cheek.
Is there?
Just add that you said it tongue in cheek.
I said it tongue in cheek. And just to also take note that Gabo's father is one of the people who educated a lot of us. Gabo, Professor Michael Quay. He made us properly appreciate the place. Sidebar. I want him to know that he's a privileged child of the University of the whole of Ghana.
Right.
Did you go to Legon?
When Ken comes, he'll meet you.
Yeah, I'll meet him here. Don't worry.
He's not a Legon product.
Gabo. No, this man is a lawsuit. We'll deal with that later. You know, but so that shifted the argument for people to understand. The whole program was designed to make losses.
Right from this inception.
Right from its inception.
So this is what you see here. Right from 2022.
Yeah.
The losses reported from the gold for oil, gold for reserve, GD, the domestic gold purchase.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So you have you see exactly what
let's put it on the screen there. Let's put it on the screen right now.
It was designed for losses, and the objective was foremostly to optimize that FX flow, because we all are aware we're losing a lot of money of FX as a result of smuggling. You know, people talk about cocoa board and gold board. It's easy to put gold in your pocket and cross a border than to carry sacks of cocoa that are of serious value. It's not the same. So the approach to really dealing with it has to be both economic and also will require some level of enforcement. And what we've seen government do, the current government do, is to learn from the previous government and perfect the loopholes of the policy as was operated. But as for the loss, it was designed to make losses. And this is simple. One, you want people to start buying and bringing you the gold and not stop smuggling. The first problem you have is the FX rate. We've always had a delta between the BOG rate and the proper rate or the street rate.
Abochi.
Abochi rate. You know, we often call it FX. It's not FX Bureau. The real problem is at Abochi level. How Ghana we've not solved Abochi problem, I don't know. We all go and know where Abochi is. I mean, it's amazing. I know officials of the central bank who buy Abochi. I know MDs of banks.
Officials of the central bank.
Yes, I mean, I know MDs of banks who buy Abochi. You and I sitting here, we have all bought Abochi. So we not pretending. We should stop it. We all know where. If your skin catch you right now and you have to travel right now, you know that there's a certain tree at the airport. You know that when you go to Cow Lane, you will solve some problems. But somehow, we haven't solved it. So we've allowed this market to have a parallel market. And we've also not been able to deal with it economically so that the central bank can have one rate which is significantly different from the street rate.
True.
And the differential Sarkodie is right, could sometimes be up to 20%. Now it's narrowed significantly.
Yeah, it's going down.
It's come down. It's just around 10.
10, 11.
You understand? It was worse earlier. The last time I remember asking a proper convergence, I think was maybe after doing the IMF interventions and we narrowing it. It's something like 2016, 2017. The markets really significantly, narrowed and almost became one and same. But that is where we need to cure the problem. And who is responsible for that? It is the central bank. The central bank needs to come and explain to us how come, together with government, that matter keeps lingering. Because if we didn't have that, we won't have a lot of the losses that we have here.
The 1.7 billion.
You won't. Because how would Sami Jefi, you send Sami Jefi with money, that Sami Jefi should go and buy something, and he goes to the place, and the real rate is 12. Because if you decide to buy 11, it means that the people are taking a 10% haircut. They will not give you the gold.
Yes.
They will not give you the gold. And we truly don't have the security capacity for proper enforcement. Galamsey, we have to discuss it today. Look at where we are. How much more dealing with something in somebody's pocket that you can't even see? You understand? So you create an economic incentive by paying him the 12. Now when you come and collect the 12, because of other policy considerations, you want to keep it and sell it at what? 11. You will naturally make a loss.
So that BOG policy, which is the rate is lower than what is the prevailing on the market, would automatically
we
contribute
must
to
converge the rates. And there are multiple ways to do it. Either you put proper enforcement, but the BOG have taken some steps. We have to recognize that. And they are making it a lot more difficult and a lot more easy for legitimate users to access the real FX, all right, which it will be the FX at the BOG rate. But how do we get the off-market rate, which affects on-market rate, back into the formal space? Let me break it down. If Auntie Adra at or Auntie Na at Amakola wants to buy FX for her import, how do we get her to start thinking that it's just easy and convenient for you to work with your bank, other than you trying to go to Cowlin? How do we deal with that problem? How do we make it more difficult for her to want to even go to Cowlin and feel more comfortable to just stay inside the formal systems? We have to answer that question. But even if you look at the banks itself, today we have about 11.1 on BOG or 11.0 now, or something like that, as 11.11 or so as their sell rate. But go to the real bank itself. The real bank is having a transfer rate of 11.45, 11.5 thereabout. Then you have a cash rate of 11.9. This spread alone already doesn't make sense. When you go to other jurisdictions, you don't see this. In South Africa, you don't see this.
That what the Bank of Ghana gives in selling forex to the commercial banks.
When you go to Turkey and you want to trade, you don't see this. You don't see these things at all. And then you have an forex bureau rate which is also slightly north of what the banks are also saying. And all of them are under the central bank's regulation. I think that there's some work to be done. There's something that we need to crack. And I like Dr. Zach's comment. He tells me this every time, that we've gone to school enough for us to be able to drive things to help our people. So as we achieve stability, we have to start taking more market correcting measures to make sure that the rates converge. There was this company that came to town from Turkey, and they were coming with the same assumption that their country also operates. So when they were selling their real estate, the FX rate that they use, they'll take CDs in dollars. And they'll take the houses were priced in dollars, but they'll take the CDs at Bank of Ghana rate. After 1 year, they realized that they were being fools. You understand? And then they changed it. But they came from an economy where, when you see the central bank rate, the variance is about some 1 or 2%. So you can rely on it as a credible reference.
True.
We have a problem with that. We can use the Bank of Ghana rate roughly as a certain reference, but only in a certain formalized space. Even that, we are seeing a huge delta, 11.11 and 11.9, 11.11 and 11.8. That convergence is required. The summary of it for me on the policy side is that is a responsibility of the central bank. I believe they have been trying to work at it. But we should see something. So they must also carry the weight of it. So if this loss is coming significantly from that point, there's nothing wrong with the fact that it's sitting on the Bank of Ghana books. I have to be honest with you.
There's nothing wrong with it.
No. The policy is first of all DS. The cause of the loss is driven again by their management of that space. If they decide,
how would you respond to those who say the Gold Board must...
Gold Board is not inside this matter. Gold Board is taking a good advantage. Like I said earlier, and I agree with Sako there. I heard with the part that he didn't want to spend too much time with. The fact is that it sits on the central bank's book. That's the fact. I mean, if GoldBoard is a business and you're hiring me to do this job for you at X or Y%, and you want to do this job in this way, I will just operationalize your plan. And the only thing you measure GoldBoard properly by in this instance is, have you been able to operate the policy to achieve the volume of gold that we require? Did you follow that policy framework? There's nothing to suggest that they didn't. And as a matter of fact, in this particular period of review, their central charges were even lower than the previous period, which you may want to compare it with. So GoldBoard is not here or there. They moved the volume from 46 tons or so to 104 tons. Clearly, they have operationalized and achieved their part very well. The economic cost of it is part of the design that was defined, again, by the policy driver or the policy owner. And again, that is the central bank.
Is that
but we shouldn't lose sight of one fact. We can't continue to make these losses. It may have been critical for a certain space to provide a certain stability. The question is, what next? When I wrote my paper earlier in the year to explain this thing, at that time, I think the loss was estimated at 240. I explained that it was prudent. That was a very prudent intervention. You needed to do that to regularize, formalize, and identify all your players. But once you use a GoldBoard structure to formalize the trading chain, the question is, how do you now leverage that influence to also regularize the practices in there to eliminate the losses? My problem with the conversation going on, but again, this conversation is driven by politicians, so maybe that's why it is where it is. It's start hearing from GoldBoard. It's for us to start hearing from central government. How are we going to operate to make sure that these losses are zeroed out?
That's the communication of the issue. I think that's what you...
It's not for me just even the communication. We also want to see a clear operation, a clear policy position, and want to see a plan that can achieve that. We need to see it very clearly. Because we don't want to have these losses now move from central bank and come and sit on GoldBoard. Unless the Minister of Finance comes and says, guys, because of the strategic value of what this does, I want to vote a loss, a policy cost of, say, 5 billion. And I think they gave the central bank 5 billion in bonds there for 2025 or so, something of that sort. All right? This is my cost. So if you budget this expense, because it delivers a certain economic value, and that value is enormous, and I can walk you through some of the numbers, all right? This is the budget. So we use that as the benchmark to monitor government's policy management. I want to lose a maximum 5 billion, because when I spend this 5 billion through GoldBoard, I am able to achieve a certain economic, exchange stability. That gives me a certain value in inflation. It minimizes my fiscal costs by way of my foreign debt service. It also translates into a market impact and also an economic cost by way of lower import bills in CD terms. You value all of it and tell us, so this is the spend. Okay. We should be able to have that clearly. I haven't heard that conversation anywhere. I've heard Sammy Gyamfi effectively articulate the fact that it is, they have not been operating a lot, they've been operating their policy. They've been able to optimize their policy. I give him credit for it. I've also heard him also say clearly that effective 1st July, everything has come to the GoldBoard. They are now responsible together with the Ministry of Finance. Fantastic. What is the strategy? What policy actions are being deployed? What's the policy design? And what kind of losses does that design allow for? Or what kind of cost zeroing out can the revised policy deliver? We need to see it, and we need to start having that conversation so that you can have academia, you can have civil society, You can have market analysts help them shape that. Because the program there, I won't lie you, is being critical. There have been two key things that have been able to drive us and FX recovery and relative stability. Two key things. The central bank's money supply policy actions, which have been mopping up a lot of liquidity after our defective, fiscal slippages in 2024. And that one cost us about 16.7 billion for 2025. Then you have this gold purchase program. And we are being told, let me see how much do you have there? 9.9 billion for 2025, right?
Well, that was the initial cost. 214
so right now, where are we sitting?
The 1.7, that's the 22 billion.
Okay, so they were saying that there was a net loss. They report a gross loss and a net loss.
Yes.
The 5.6, some have argued, was the net loss. So if you match the net,
for gold bond statement, there was no loss.
No, not gold bond, central bank. I mean, I've heard that argument. I still need to understand that argument properly. So that in the accounts of the central bank, they didn't post 22 billion.
Yes.
They posted 9 points.
This figure.
Yeah, about 9.1 billion. Yes, it was about 9.1 billion. And the report is that this 9.1 billion is the net loss, net trading loss. Okay, so it compares with this. And then what IMF was reporting some gross. We all need some little more education in there. So we just
that's actually, if you look at this statement, it captures what you are talking about. Because they separate the net loss from the gross. You see that?
Yes.
Yes. So it's consistent with what.
So let's see what you have.
So from 2022, you have the net loss of, and let's come to 2023 because that's when.
Okay.
Yes. So 2023 net loss of 317 million. Then the gross loss comes to over 1.3 billion, almost 1.4 billion.
So it's important
so
for us.
There's always that increase. Yes.
Okay. So they've reported as net losses. Their arguments are what they have. The 22 billion was the gross losses, and they maintain that 9.1 billion or so is the net loss that they actually incur.
True.
When you do it, you realize a certain level of efficiency. But for me, again, it's neither here nor there. The key returns we've achieved, and I was reporting the 2025 one. That stability, looking at where we were, and then the appreciation. What is down to Ghana's import bill? Over 60 billion. We've had a debt service gain of about 6 billion or 12 point something billion. We have had a certain impact on our capex expense. I mean, so when you match everything, you add the OMO cost of 16.7 billion. You add this 9 billion. So, circa, you are dealing with about, 26 billion, thereabout. Okay? And you look at the gain to the economy. It has been a productive, policy action. But it doesn't mean that it's sustainable. Because when you continue to deplete the books of the central bank, you almost have no central bank. Again, don't forget that the central bank does not have to have a positive net asset on an accounting scale for it to actually be a viable one. The Bank of England, the Swiss bank, they've all faced negative equity for a very long time. So none of these things is sort of new to monetary policy management. But it's not sustainable.
Yes.
So if it's moving here, what is the conversation? What is the plan? Because right now, it is hitting the fiscal book clear.
True.
And the opportunity cost is everything, including schools, including health, including infrastructure, including economic transformation policies that we need to spend around. So we need that conversation rather hard. I hope that politicians will stop this gold board or no gold board and leave Sammy JF in peace. He hasn't asked anybody's trouble. He hasn't done anything. And let's keep the thing where it belongs, BOG. And then now, with Ministry of Finance, what is the plan?
Okay. Well, Professor Godfred Bobkin, Professor of Finance, is joining us on Zoom shortly. But Bernard Bediako, on this, and same on that path that Senor ended, and the question that Dr. Dosu Sarkodie asked regarding the treatment of this. After Sammy Jemfi's press conference, this is what Alexander Penyoma put out on behalf of the minority, that there was an admission that indeed there's a loss of 1.7 billion. The only dispute is how it should be treated. And then he also says that Gold Board accounted for about 133 billion in advance in 2025. It was paid as a fees and a service fee, which was captured by the IMF as part of the cost or the loss of $1.7 billion. That alone means that Gold Board should also be held accountable for the loss of 1.7 billion.
That's ridiculous. I mean, you sit here, you said, no, I'm coming. You sit here, I call you, and I said, you please go and buy me this at this price. And you go and you buy it and come. And then if I make a loss as a result of the decision I directed you to go, how are you to blame? Achugo keke. Look, just stop this. I'm worried that we are focusing on the minors.
Mr.
Bedo. Brother, thank you. Good morning once again to you, your team, and then my seniors on the panel. And then the viewers out there, those listening as well. Mr. Kwibu, is he in the jurisdiction?
No, he's
okay, so Mr. Kwibu, good morning. And
morning, BBB.
Yes. And the very good people of Akwatia constituency. Today is my constituency chairman's birthday. Shout out to him. God bless him for me. He's been doing very wonderful. Look, see, I like how you brought up the purported response of the respected minority leader after Mr. Jemfi exposed the duplicity, the hypocrisy, and the blatant lies that were peddled for all this while. And you see, it cannot be said, any better than how my good brother has done. We must understand how this whole thing, because we can't keep discussing the matter without understanding the background. How did we get here? Why are we discussing this matter? Somebody spoke on behalf of a group, Minority in Parliament. And I think it's been over 6 months. This matter came up. I remember the session we ended before we came to the last one. There was this, that was when Honorable Kujo Oppong-Nkrumah had tabled a motion in Parliament asking for Gold Board. At that time, let's be fair here, let's be honest. Nobody mentioned Bank of Ghana. When these discussions were out there, people were denigrating individuals and all that. There was no mention of Gold Board, this Bank of Ghana. They said Gold Board. In fact, they simplified it. Say Gold Board akoton gold aboka. You heard them. Gold is your tomboka. These were the things that were peddled out there. So we had to find out, what was it? I was in the chamber. In fact, when these matters came up, we were a bit surprised and we wanted to know what actually the basis was. But you see, let it also be put on record that at no point did the majority resist any move for the Gold Board to be held accountable or to be brought to Parliament to answer any question. It didn't happen.
You didn't resist it?
No, we didn't. We resisted the vehicle. Check their hands out. We resisted the vehicle.
And at that time, what vehicle were they in?
Yes, they said there should be a bipartisan, whatever, a 9-member. That was the content of the motion. That there should be a 9-member committee made up of NDC and MPP go and sit. And then we said, no. If there has been any financial whatever as you claim, surely it should be in the books of that entity. And the books will surely go through an audit by the Auditor General, which Auditor General's report eventually would land at the doorstep of Parliament. And the Public Accounts Committee would have the opportunity of dealing with it, which committee is headed by the same one of the people who are all over the place saying all kinds of things. Honorable Abner Asare. It's not headed by James Agaga or Mahama Yariga or myself. So what was the issue? So we said that, wait, let whatever be, what we didn't know. So let whatever come through the audit report, and then you have an opportunity of dealing with it. They said, no, they want a bipartisan. Well, you know the history of these bipartisan ad hoc committees. What becomes of their report? Let anybody tell me one, just one, of such reports that has yielded anything for us. It becomes partisan. To the extent that the very last, I think, cash for seat or so, both parties, I mean, the minority, majority came up with different reports, if you remember. So if indeed you are calling for accountability, the vehicle should be the established, in fact, when you read, I think, 262 of our standing orders, it says that it is only where we don't have, or the matter does not come under a committee that exists already in our books. You go for an ad hoc committee. We have public accounts committee. You are talking about finances. And you say we should establish an ad hoc committee. Is it not pure politics you are trying to do? So we saw it from day one, and we said no. So that was it. Nobody has said that. And indeed, even Bank of Ghana, the public accounts committee, would have an opportunity of dealing with their books through the Auditor General. So what is the point? So that must be said. But then they kept saying that Gold Board. The discussion has always been around Gold Board, according to the minority. And that is why we must put the matters in the right perspective to expose them for what they have done. And like my senior said, nowhere did they say that, or did the IMF, the report they rely so much on as their Bible, that it is Gold Board that incurred the loss, or it is sitting in the books of Gold Board. If it's not in their books, if they didn't incur the loss, then why would you even ascribe, to the extent that you are even calling somebody a candidate for jail? Was that not?
That was very unfortunate.
Very, very unfortunate. The minority leader, I mean, these things are for foot soldiers. You stood in front of the cameras and you called a person and you said I heard him subsequently, OKFM and then other places, he didn't mention the name of Samuel. Who else? Who else? So you see, this is what we should call them out for. Very responsible, with the greatest respect to him. I respect him so much. But you see, that is why we have the reports before us. And it's good. This is the only page 10, the item or paragraph 13. That is the only page that talks of the IMF report that speaks about this loss.
This one?
Yes. Nowhere again. This is it. So please, for the benefit of your viewers, tell us. They only mentioned. So you start, and you see the dishonesty. Hold on. So you see the dishonesty. Relying on the same document, they skipped the 2024 one.
You said losses in 2024 were equivalent to almost $400 million.
So hold on there. Did you ever hear them talk about the 2024 loss? Did you hear the respected minority leader ever mention the 2024 loss?
But that's how the report starts, isn't it?
Yes,
and then they go
but did you ever hear them mention it? It is the report. You see, we said that. We have an audited statement from the Auditor General. They said, no, we won't go with that. Leave that one. We will rely on the IMF report, which we have. Please tell me, the first sentence there is talks about 2024. Why did they skip it?
Well, they relied on the second part.
Why?
Which is the $1.7 billion.
Why?
Which
we will come
as
to
a
that.
result
Please.
of the scheme.
Yes, but we will come to that. But why did they skip? Let us call them out for what they've done. Why did they skip the 2024 one? Look, let me tell you, the arrangement we have today, and Doc, let me, respectfully, it is not true that there is a current design, as you claim. The design has always been there. It's the PMMC design, which we still have.
I didn't say current design.
No. I wrote it. Maybe you didn't. Maybe.
I don't think he intended to say
well, that's fine. I agree.
Let me correct it. The design of the domestic gold.
It's important. It's not only you. People make the whole argument look as though it is something that is happening now, and it's never happened before. This policy is a policy of the old administration. The domestic gold purchase program It's a policy of the old administration. Yes, Bank of Ghana, but the old administration. And the arrangement in terms of how this whole thing should be done and whatever fees and then how it is being done was done before we inherited power. In fact, Sami inherited PMMC and did not change anything. Probably what we have now is the Gold Board, which is now a regulator different from the PMMC. That is the difference. But in terms of the Bank of Ghana's policy, the domestic gold purchase program, go and buy gold and bring it to me. It's always been like this. It's always been like this. And what do they do? As was explained, to make it simple, for the sake of our viewers, of course, the economists, they make the thing a bit complex. To make it very simple, as has been said, take this money, go and buy the gold and bring it to me. Bring it to me. In fact, Gold Board is not even a party to the arrangement in terms of taking the gold to outside the shores of the Republic. They don't even sit in meetings to discuss how much the gold should be sold. Is it possible for me to incur costs when I've not sold anything?
Well, but the IMF in their report, the same report that you reference, say that the losses, they diagnosed the cost of this $1.7 billion loss. They said the losses accrued on gold trades are a combination of service and asset fees paid to Gold Board, discounts on gold sold to off-takers, and most importantly, the exchange rate losses.
Let's deal with them.
So the fees paid to Gold Board is the
so let's deal with them.
As
so the fees paid to the, of course. If you ask me to go,
unless you disagree,
it's a revenue to Gold Board, right?
No.
If you ask me to go and buy something,
expenditure profile around the transaction.
You ask me to go and buy something.
So God should not enforce for us. You carry your gold there and go and ask it, and see they'll give it to you for free.
Referencing the IMF report, the classification of the contributing factors to the loss.
Yes.
Based on the IMF's own diagnosis. This is what they put there.
So I'm telling you, as a business, if I've made losses and I have advertisements there, NTV3, I did morning show or key points adverts there. And they say, oh, it's because of your administrative costs, which includes marketing, advertising, which was done to TV3. And then, so now TV3 is responsible for the collapse of my company. My guy.
You see, it's very, 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 very sad. And this is the narrative our brothers on the other side are pushing. Look, let's deal with it. We are coming to it. So if, like he said, you asked me to go and purchase gold for you, of course. It's not the vehicles of Bank of Ghana that are used to go to the trenches. They don't pay the fuel. They don't pay for security. They don't pay for the asset. At the end of the day, do it and let me give you 2 cedis for the job done. I do it perfectly. You take the gold. You give me my 2 cedis. I go my way. What you decide to do with the gold, me, I'm not there. Then you say that, look, you are here. You are working for that station. You've been asked to, host this show. At a fee, they pay you monthly. You do your work, you take your money and go. Tomorrow, you are indebted and they say you are rather indebted. Does it make sense? Doesn't make sense.
Your salary is the
cost. Your salary is the cost.
You are questioning the IMF's position.
No, but you see, it is because of the narrative. It is not a problem. The IMF has said that this, because you see, they are looking at the accounting laws. They looked at the books of the Bank of Ghana. And what is accounting loss? What you had, what you spent. Which one exceeds the other?
Absolutely.
Do you understand? So, of course, they will see it in the books. And that is why the IMF even says that, he said that these accounting losses partly reflect valuation effects rather than economic cost. And you know what economic cost is. Because there are economic gains here. But they said that, but they still weaken the BOG balance sheet.
Correct.
Do you understand? Yes. So it is all about balance sheet. Which central bank in the world doesn't spend? It's not a commercial bank. It is not a profit or loss organization.
But you heard the economists say that every loss is a loss, whether it is balance sheet loss or any other loss.
No, you see, that is the challenge I have.
With
Why?
What?
They have a responsibility of keeping our currency stable. they have a responsibility towards what do you call inflation. How do they do it? How are they expected to do it? How? They use money in doing it. And it must be so. How else will you do it? When you mop up excess liquidity, when you have to, when we used to go for a euro bond at a fee, at an interest, what was it used for? So you always spend, except that they can't, you see, the Bank of Ghana creates money, but they can't create any money other than CD. But we need dollars as well. So they have to put in policies. They have to create policies that will make us earn the dollar at a fee. So you see this whole argument, we are saying, but you see, let's not shape the goalposts. Let's not help our brothers here. What did they say? What has been the argument? They say gold board aboka. So for me, let's remain there. Our brother is here. Maybe he will explain to us what we do not know. But the report they rely so much on. How did the report ever? In fact, when you look at the heading, it says that DGPP operations have generated significant losses for the Bank of Ghana. So how is somebody a candidate for jail here? Somebody who doesn't work for Bank of Ghana. How is he a candidate for jail? Now you come and say that the loss has been admitted. Admitted by who? Have you even written a letter to Bank of Ghana? Admitted by who? We all know that the loss is there. And the loss has always been there. And but for your insincerity, you would have quoted from 2022. But for the propaganda you intended to do,
yeah, bro,
you should have started from 2022 if you wanted to be fair. You see, the intellectuals, the technocrats, the academicians are all here. If the argument had been, look, Bank of Ghana, tell us what is happening. How come we are incurring these losses from 2022? How? Then we are making a case. Then we can all join them in investigating what happened. But you see, the truth of the matter is that they are doing nothing but politics. They are doing nothing but politics. My brother, this ASEFI they are talking about. How different is that from the PMMC era? Were they also not taking the fees, the same fees? Were they not? So, we are saying that, you see, like you said, once you've scaled up the program, surely the cost associated would also be more. But it doesn't mean that the Bank of Ghana has not also, the program has not yielded any results. We all know what has happened to our currency. One of the longest streaks, if you talk about the stability of our city, it is money that is used in doing that. If you talk about the inflation, now around 5 or less? 4. So we are doing quite well. So if that is why the IMF said it is not economic cost, because there are economic, if you look at the economic, record in terms of gain or loss, you understand that we've come quite far and it's good. We've achieved so much. But I will still go and back to do the politics. You see, no, it's improper. How did we get here? They brought you here this morning because somebody did politics. Someone decided to do pure politics. And what is even sad, look at it. And let me even draw your attention to something. With all this, after all that was said, how come it is just, I'm just asking a harmless question. It appears that the respected minority leader is on his own. Where are his police?
How do you mean he's on his own?
No. In all this, my brother, yes, it's with the MPP, but this is a minority affair. Is he one of them? Yes. Where are they? How many have you heard? I've been on programs where I was expected to meet with my colleagues on there. They never showed up. Watch the space. Why have they left the respected minority leader to be on his own? No, I'm just asking a harmless question. He would respond. But this is a minority, yes, this is a minority issue. Minority in parliament. Where are they? I was on Joy FM 2 days ago. He never showed up. I was on Adom. He never showed up. UTV, they never showed up. And the minority leader, no, I don't know. They themselves didn't know. They called them, they didn't come. Minority leader is the one hopping from one radio station, TV station to the other. Minority leader? After you are done with your press conference, the rest is for your lieutenants to carry on. Unfortunately, we are not seeing it. Is he on his own? Is it a personal agenda? this is not true. Nobody wants to put his head on this.
Okay.
It turned out that if I'm paid fees for work done, I don't determine. In fact, going to buy the gold from the artisans, it is not Gold Board that determines how much he intends buying under the current regime or the dispensation. He doesn't determine it. Everything is Bank of Ghana. Just take this, go and buy it at this rate. Bring it to me and take your fees.
Gold Board is part. There's a committee that supervises that.
Currently.
Currently.
Currently. The PMMC, I'm saying that the committee you refer to, you see, Gold Board now has a certain legal whatever currently, which PMMC didn't have. The current Gold Board. Because it's also the regulator now. PMMC didn't have that.
However, it is the final say will always be with the
Bank of Ghana. That's
so, but I'm just saying that.
Round up for me. I need to.
So please, what we are saying is this: if the argument is about the losses generally from 2022, we can have it. But I'm looking at the economic gains we have currently. I will not fault Bank of Ghana, even if you push it there, because they need to use money to actually bring us this far. But you see, if it is about Gold Board, as has been, persistently put out there that it is Gold Board that has incurred the loss, we are saying that the report you rely so much on doesn't even depict it. It doesn't show it.
Let me bring in the Honorable Mike Aaron Okwe Jr. here, because a number of the things you talk about, you reference him or the minority leader or the leader of his party's caucus in Parliament. The specific reference is made to the details of this report, and I took some time to lay some foundation before we started, and it's for good reason, because a number of people commenting extract aspects of this report, try to generalize it, but the report is specific when it comes to diagnosing the cost, the contributing factors to the loss of $1.7 billion as identified here, and then also how the IMF itself treats this. You see, accounting losses and its impact on the central bank's books, the balance sheet. But then the $1.7 billion loss. At what point in this report does it mention Gold Board specifically as incurring this loss? The reason why you want Gold Board, if I say you, I'm talking about the minority leader who addressed the press conference, want Gold Board to take up this whole $1.7 billion. They should be held accountable for it and be brought to question.
Thank you very much, and a very good day to your viewers and listeners. What we have said are a myriad of issues and matters that we want considered. We have mentioned the Bank of Ghana and we have mentioned the Gold Board. Both. And why have we mentioned both? To explain this to the regular Ghanaian listener. It's a case of two government entities handling the taxpayers' money. The taxpayers' money is about 133 billion cedis. This money has been taken from Bank of Ghana, given to Gold Board to go and buy us gold. Now, in the process of the buying, the selling, the weighing, the assay, the valuing, and ultimately the export, after which there have been different things like forex differentials and so on, we have lost $1.7 billion. In effect, about 11.7 billion cedis, about 11 billion cedis.
Right? No, that's 22 billion cedis.
Oh, sorry. Cedis is about 20. I'll even say about 20 because if you use the exchange rate and lower it a bit, it will come down rather to about 20. So let's be fair. Let's even say 20.
It's a considerate opposition.
Yes, yes. But the $11.7 billion, that's equivalent to the 133 billion. Excuse me. If you look at it upside, downside, sideways, they've lost 10% of that money. For me, where you have been given $11.7 billion of the taxpayers' money to go and perform a function for us, and you lose 10% of it, the losses are too huge. And where our money is given from one entity to another they are all government agencies, and there's a loss, we need to ask questions.
Of course.
Why is it that all of a sudden, if there's a loss, and we say that the loss is not only just one of a certain meager amount, but of such high magnitude, all of a sudden, they say we shouldn't ask. The reason we asked the questions was simple. The money, whether it's sitting in the loss of Bank of Ghana or sitting in the loss accounting book of Gold Board, the value is the same.
The value is the same?
We have lost the money, 1.7. So we are trying to say that, okay, government, make sure that you give money to another entity to conduct a program where it's prudent. Am I lying? Because we want the government to make prudent decisions. We want the Bank of Ghana to use our money prudently. So if we are asking that our money should be used prudently, where is the problem? And this is where the issue comes. And let Ghanaians be aware. The IMF is reporting on history in 2025. As at now, Gold Board, because they have also sat with Bank of Ghana, and Bank of Ghana has also sat with Gold Board and realized that it is not efficient, it is not prudent. They announced on the 11th of August that since March, they stopped using that. And the Bank of Ghana is no more going to finance Gold Board in such a manner because a cano does.
Doc, hold on, Honorable, hold on a bit.
No, I just want to let me land on this small point because you see,
Professor Bobkin is
Professor
running
Bobkin,
into
yes, let me just take this.
Yes,
okay, let's.
yes.
So we shouldn't trivialize this matter.
No, but I'll come to you just so you know. You have not exhausted your point. Professor Godfred Bobkin is a professor of finance.
I was his lawyer. He's one of my
He's joining us on the telephone. Prof, good morning.
Yes, good morning, and good morning to our cherished listeners and viewers.
Great.
Good morning to my bosses at the studio.
Yes, you have quite a number.
You must acknowledge the presence of your floor rep and your JCR president, please.
Oh yes. Please acknowledge your presence first.
And acknowledge that you have interrupted my phone.
Oh, indeed. Prof, very quickly, and earlier in the week, we had a private conversation on some of these positions espoused by persons commenting on this particular IMF report. The treatment of the $1.7 billion is what has taken much of the discussion as to how this should be classified, whether as a loss in itself or a transactional cost. How would you see this?
Okay, thank you very much. So let me start off this way. It makes no difference for us typically if we say it should be treated as transaction costs or as losses. It's one country. It's an intervention a country is putting in place. This intervention, there are different players, including aggregators, off-takers, including Gold Board. Then there is also Bank of Ghana. Remember, if we adopt a general approach to accounting for this, we can situate this. Some can treat it as transaction costs, others can treat it as losses. But as a country, what is the net effect of that to us? And then I'll go into a bit into the detail. From the conceptualization, I think it was also on your network. Mm-hmm. We had indicated that by design, this domestic gold purchase, for which Gold Board essentially became the face of it in terms of operationalizing it, right? Because from 2025, they had become a monopoly in the system, and all of that was bound to generate certain losses. And of course, the good news is that through the Gold Board, we have seen significant crowding in of FX, which is good for us as a country and all of that. But then we also have to look at the design effect and how we correct that. My position from the beginning was that this was a fiscal activity. This was a fiscal activity. The creation of Gold Board was a fiscal activity. And therefore, we should look at the value chain and how we can properly account for the entire cost and then the benefit arising from that, rather than sacrificing the balance sheet of the central bank. You see, if you run a business, and I indicated this on your network, that if you run a business, exchange rate losses, variations, you can't offload it to somebody else. You can't offload it to somebody else. It's part of your business operation. So for other businesses and stuff like that, last year, 2 years ago, with exchange rate variations, some incurred losses, others recorded some gains, depending on the positions that they take. And we do know that there are multiple exchange rates. We operate more or less a multiple exchange rate system in Ghana. Okay, you have the Forex Bureau rate, you have the Bank of Ghana's own official rate, you have the interbank rate, then you have the cash rate, and all of that. So with that system, you are likely going to have challenges. Then also look at the entire package, including the spread, which is manifesting in losses today. Call that one transaction losses. But remember that it also refers transfers. What you call cost here is gain for off-takers and others who have to now change the currency, okay, and all of. So whilst the loss on the books of, let's say, the central bank, remember it gains on the other side, right? So at the end, it's the country that is losing. But what then is important is that all these things were designed to ensure that the entire domestic gold purchasing with gold board coming on board becomes more attractive as a way of pricing out. Remember, as a way of pricing out smugglers in the market. So to that extent, we should adopt that value chain approach to accounting for this, rather than saying that it's not part of the, because the whole plan was, how do we pay the highest possible price? Okay, and remember the IMF had also indicated that by so doing, together with the spread and all of that, the price at which we were buying gold became one of the highest in the region. Possibly could even encourage smugglers from other countries to come and sell gold in Ghana because it was more attractive in Ghana. If you were doing that, all of that, just to be able to crowd in the effects, then we cannot take the gain in isolation. You have to look at the entire package, okay? Because we did all of this thing. We did all of this is in order to price out other buyers or smugglers. In fact, and for the state to have allowed that was even wrong in the first place. Why? Because the gold board had become monotony. So you need to look at the entire value chain and the pricing regime, okay, including the spread we had to allow and all of that in order to make this like the only go-to, more or less. But of course, if you are designing an economic intervention, you just don't solely look at price. You also want to look at other interventions that you will put in place to support so that compliance becomes what? Higher. So it's a price we have paid. And what we indicated was that even at that time, when we said that, these losses were infinitesimal, we were talking about $214 million at that time. Okay, and we said that this thing could be more than that. It could be more than that. Let's take it. And we were comparing. The issue was that we were comparing these losses then to all the inflows that had come in as a result of gold board taking over. But that itself is wrong, because you can, if the entire operation for the year brought in FX, okay, of $10.9 billion, that is the entire revenue. That is not profit. Remember that you paid something to be able to buy the gold. So to be able to determine your profit at the end, you have to look at the cost of purchasing. You have to look at exchange rate variations. You have to look at all of that. Then you can determine that this is the profit we have made. That is not the only thing, Alfred. So we are talking about what Ghana has lost in order to achieve this. And that should not be lost on us. The other thing to bear in mind is that we have had to also scrap 1.5% final withholding tax, okay, as part of the package to be able to crowd in. So if you adopt a value chain approach to analyze all of this, what the country has to give up in order to crowd in this effort is quite huge. Then the question you ask yourself is the intervention that costly? Is bringing gains, but it doesn't have to be that costly. What can be done? And I believe that measures have been put in place in trying to reduce those level of losses. And bear in mind that the books would change materially going forward, because once Bank of Ghana exits, remember Bank of Ghana provide the CDs. Okay, yes. There's no free money anywhere. Today, if Gold Board has to now go and obtain the CDs, or the Ministry of Finance has to make that budgetary provision, that is cost to the country that we have to take into consideration. Because if you go to take the money from commercial banks in order to buy the gold, when the gold, you sell the gold and the money comes, you have to pay the commercial bank. But Bank of Ghana had backstopped this with their balance sheet, okay, and the cost on their books was quite high and all of that. Remember, when you say it's transaction cost, see the implication, because it passes through other comprehensive income. It manifests in huge negative equity for Bank of Ghana that we have to capitalize. We are talking about something around Bank of Ghana's negative equity position today is around $9.3 billion. Okay, so if you adopt a value chain approach, this is one country. So if one entity celebrates gains and the other entity is celebrating huge losses, which must be taken up ultimately by the same taxpayer, we want to be a bit mindful of the entire value chain approach and how we go about it, so that it helps us to see how we can minimize the cost to the country as a whole. And all of, and remember that there is price sensitivity here, that if world gold price should dip significantly today, these gains we are celebrating here could easily unwind. Meanwhile, the cost, you can't do much about the cost and all of that. So I'm saying that good news, we celebrated the introduction of Gold Board, and we congratulated them, but the cost of operationalizing it and all of that is huge. And remember that when it comes to buying gold, it didn't start today. We've been buying gold as part of our monetary management and reserve management. Not today. We talk about monetary gold, okay, and all of that. We have scaled up. That is good news. It's coming at a huge cost. How do we transparently, and read the IMF report? Is quite interesting. The IMF report is quite clear. Even going forward, as Gold Board takes over full operation, the IMF is indicating how do we transparently account for this. Oh, that's quite instructive, because it has to take the IMF to bring almost all these losses to our attention. Would we have been that transparent to ourselves?
I see. Prof, you've done some comprehensive analysis and submission on this. I know you are on the move. So a number of questions I wanted to ask you, I've gone ahead to answer. But thank you. Thank you for joining. But I know you're still staying with us to listen to the conversation as we go on. But there's something Prof references about the other costs to this. The scrapping of the 1.5%. I think you mentioned as well, the withholding tax and so on.
Was that done by Gold Board?
No.
Okay. So thank you very much. And I think that Ghanaians have enjoyed listening to the knowledge that was spewed by, I think, is it Prof. Bobkin?
If you went to Lagos, you would have been able to pronounce it.
Yes. I think it's
next time, follow your father. Learn from your father.
No, it's Bobkin. No, it's not Bobkin. It's not.
Okay, gentlemen.
Yeah, Bobkin.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, the one who don't know the pronunciation. Next time, know that we are international.
Okay, let's see. Thank you.
So now, moving on to this issue of the losses, as I was saying, we can't have one entity fund a program. The other entity loses 10% of the money. And one thing that I found really strange was the fact that this money is about $11.7 billion. Mm-hmm. Then there's a loss of $1.7 billion, albeit sitting in the Bank of Ghana accounts. Then we have people within the same structure telling us that they made $10 billion, so we should give them praise. Where is this logic coming from? A Ghanaian shouldn't complain about this. Was it not the same Gold Board who were arrogating to themselves that well-done scenario? But yet, when we arrogate the loss to them, then people are saying, oh no, that one is for Bank of Ghana. You see the hypocrisy? So Ghanaians will say that if you will take the benefit, then you must also take the responsibility of the loss. And this is where it's come. Nobody is doing politics. They rather started the politics and giving themselves accolade, putting themselves big crowns of honor that they have achieved $10 billion for Ghana. Say, hey, that's not the case. there's a 1.7 billion. In fact, some commentators like Steve Mantia and all even went to the extent of saying that we should praise the government for that 10 billion that they've managed to claw back out of the 11.7. That doesn't make any sense. And why are we complaining about all of this that is happening in the country? Look, my brother, the losses, if you look at section 13 of the IMF country report, that's the 6th review, it says that the losses accrued on gold trade, a combination of service and asset fees paid to Gold Board. Let's take there first. Now, my brother, these service charges, have they been scrutinized? Because remember that what is happening is that Gold Board is
reduced from what MPP was paying in 2020.
No, that's not the point. That's not the point. The point is how the money has been managed. And you see, one of the biggest problems with this in the loss was also the scaling up. Because you see, most things, when you want to try it and see if it's going to work or not, you don't scale it up. You rather do a pilot. A pilot is to make it small. So I'm sure you agree with me on that.
100%.
And then when you make the pilot,
that was done in 2023.
But then they rather went and scaled it up while they've not perfected it. And today, the same Bank of Ghana has cut off the program because it's not working. So if they had rather done it as a pilot, instead of scaling up, the losses would not have scaled. And we are saying that what was done was high mismanagement. And the job of opposition is to scrutinize the job of government. I don't know why they are crying that somebody is scrutinizing them. We will scrutinize them today, we'll scrutinize them tomorrow, and we'll scrutinize them every time of the day. That is our job. Look, we cannot say that accounting losses and say that what? An accounting technicality or an accounting structure that is looked at and used as a shield against public accountability. Accounting, what? We have to find out what are some of the details. And they say the opposition must ask questions. Let's credit Afenyo Makin. When he had the press conference, he mentioned actually a catalog, not a list, a catalog. That means you can make it into a book of reasons why Gold Board must give Ghanaians certain details so that we can understand. What were some of the things he asked? He says, one, we want to know the differentials in terms of the various times of how the gold was sold. For example, those prices too, how were they determined? We want to know. We want to know the premiums. He says that we want to know how international off-takers were selected. And my brother, are you also aware that in all of this transaction, we have one sole sourced aggregator who is handling all of this?
There are two now.
Now it's two. I don't want to mention the names. But in 2025, right, when most of this thing were happening, Gold Board went and sole sourced an aggregator to handle this. So if there are losses, we won't ask them. Because they were in charge of the process. We know that. Gold Board were in charge of the whole process. And they then went and gave it to another entity to handle it for them. So if that entity, which is not a government entity, has made certain profits, there have been certain commissions paid, we want to know how much are those commissions, and if possible, to trace into whose pockets those commissions may have even gone to. That is the job of opposition. Let's put politics aside. The job of the mighty minority is to make sure that they scrutinize government money that is spent. And this is all that they are doing. Now, apart from the international people who were chosen, we want to know, do they have links to this? Do they have links to that? Now, we want to know, you Gold Board yourself, what kind of service fee did you earn?
No,
I know, but we want to know, and then we look
what
at...
you want to know is public.
Yeah, it's public.
Yes,
So you should...
No, you are not getting me. I'm saying that these are questions that we are asking. And we want to know that, for example, what were the commercial risks? There are very detailed things that we want to be answered in Parliament. Because, you see, the minority represents Ghanaians. And it is the minority's job to make sure that when an IMF report like this comes out, they say we want further and better particulars. So come and give us some of the further and better particulars. And then, even though we may know the exact amount of, for example, what was the discount sold at a particular, let's say, particular month, we want to know the reasoning behind it. Why is it that this time discounts were going like this, but you went and did this. Could there have been an ulterior motive? That's why we go for further and better particulars.
Also reduced.
Well, but no, you're not getting me.
Yeah.
When it was,
I agree.
Thank you. When it was reduced in this month, why wasn't it reduced in this month? We have to be able to juxtapose, and that is what we are looking at. So we must make sure that this thing is financially sound. We have to make sure that it has been properly priced and adequately risk managed. Because risk management is part of the money. This is Ghana government money. And once the money is being used, we need to be able to justify. Now, when people are making comments on the side that, oh, they said Gold Board should come and answer this and come and answer that, that is because we know that the person who went and did the trading and the selling of the gold is not the Bank of Ghana. So even though the Bank of Ghana, no, they didn't do that. They didn't sell the gold. They didn't assay the gold. They didn't do all those things.
No. It's a principal agent relationship. Let's be careful.
Even Gold Board, they gave that to another aggregator to handle all of that aspects. The Bank of Ghana, after all of this has been done, they are going through channels. So they've taken our money. They financed Gold Board. Then when they financed Gold Board has gone to make all this 10% loss. So now, since March this year, Bank of Ghana said, we tire plus you. We are not going to give you any more. So now, the Gold Board has to go into the open market, has to go into other agencies to start looking for funds. Now, when they go to these agencies internationally, can they go and make those same losses without any obligation? You think they can go and lose?
That is why I say that is where the conversation should be.
Thank you. No, but before the conversation gets there, to go forward, you must sometimes go 2 steps backwards. Then when you go 2 steps backwards, you'll be able to understand where are we going. And that is why a lot of people learn history. If you don't learn that history, why is it that you went and scaled up at a time where you are not perfected the thing? It's as if you are in a hurry to make the losses even bigger.
But they were perfecting what you did.
No, you're not getting me. Look, what happened under MPP? We said we're doing a gold domestic purchase program. One of them was for reserves, and that's reserves. And we built the reserves up to 32, remember? When you came and sold the reserves, about half of it, and used it for the various things that I'm coming. We were saying that with gold purchase program, we had a different direction. Our direction was also not to the extent of these forex losses. And why are we saying that? Gold Board, if you look at NDC manifesto, let me tell you one history that you yourself, you are not aware of. You remember that in NDC themselves, in their own manifesto, they told us that what they are going to do is that they are going to establish, and this is under the title, the NDC's manifesto. They said they will set up a gold board to regulate and restructure small-scale mining. They never mentioned anything about reserves. They never mentioned anything about building the gold so that we had all these problems with the forex. Then listen to MPP's own. They said, we are going to bring together a plan to consolidate Ghana's gold purchasing arrangements, expand foreign exchange results, and anchor currency and macroeconomic stability.
You guys, well, you
I'm not doing this interview for you. I'm talking to the Ghanaians. I want them to listen. I'm coming. Oh, Senor, hold on. While you're talking, I didn't interrupt. I want no. Somebody buy and I'm giving you comment. Then this is a typical case of, I'm sure, Prof. Bobkin and my brother Ken and others here who are very good academics will tell you of copycat. Where you go and copy a concept, and you don't understand how the concept really works, and you go and apply it in a situation where you are rather supposed to understand it in a pilot, but they went and scaled up. This in itself is the biggest problem, and somebody must be held responsible. How do you go and scale up something that you have not perfected? Something you are not sure of. In fact, they scaled it up to abandon it. And now the Bank of Ghana has abandoned it because they say, who did it? So if that is going on, we must ask the questions. And I don't understand why people are trying to make justifications that, when we worked and then we did this, but we paid A, B, C, D, so that's why the money is lost. If I give you my money, as we were mentioning with TV3, and you are supposed to manage a certain account for me. But the losses that you make are explicable. You can explain it. I'll be okay. But where the losses are too huge and of a magnitude where I'll ask you that why did you go and scale up this when the losses were already evident? You must be able to tell me something. And this is what you're asking them. And thanks be to God that after the IMF show of 2025, they have now stopped it since March. So hopefully this year will be better. But in the meantime, you will still account for why you scaled it up in March and why we held such losses. Because we'll ask you, what were the policies? What were the things you put in place to be able to handle that? And that is the reason why Afenyo Markin came and mentioned all those things. Look, maybe some of the rest, it was tongue-in-cheek. I have heard in some places, some people were making jokes. Hey, I saw Sami JV, where they build this of Jesus Christ and 12 disciples, and blah, blah. Those are just political talk. Why do you behave as if there's no political talk in this country? We were in this country where people say gold reserves. City Kote say, Kufuafa gold reserves in Akonifi. They asked him, he said it's political talk. I know that some of it sometimes don't take it too serious and divert the thing. But the most important thing is that Sikana ya say no. And we'll see it will be some question. We should be able to ask what has happened to the 1.7 billion. And if the answers are satisfactory, we leave it. But the answers are not satisfactory, then those who are in charge will have to give us accountability.
Well, and Senor, because I know you've been close to the entire transaction in itself and also the makeup of Gold Board and also to you. The Bank of Ghana, in wrapping up its involvement in this, now we know it's GANRAP. Now we've moved from the domestic gold purchase program now to the GANRAP, which is the next phase of us we've seen with the large-scale gold producers. Now I think that it's been increased to 30%. Right? Now, let me welcome Engineer Ken Ashigbe. He's been actually seated here for quite a while, also observing what has been going on. But we brought him specifically for the Galamsey conversation. But he's a CEO of Chamber of Mines, and for this conversation as well, the lead on the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. And thank you very much.
I just wanted to clarify this, that the large-scale producers, which are members of the chamber, how much are you contributing to this?
So you see, one of the things that get lost is that in the past, the large scale were selling 20% to the Bank of Ghana as bullion. And so that's been increased to 30%. And again, beyond, now we're not going to be selling bullion again. We're selling doré to refineries in Ghana, so that we can get to the process of establishing an LBMA refinery. And that's a perfect thing. In all of these conversations that are going on, for me, I think that the point has been made about how do we perfect it. And I agree that we need to look into what it is that we've done, make sure that root cause learnings have been done, and so that advises us as we go forward. That's an important conversation. But let me also add that one of the things that has changed is the fact that now most of the small-scale gold that is leaving our shores are now being refined. And again, for me, that's progress. And so what I hope that we do is that we need to listen to the questions, that MPP is asking and get answers for them. But we should do that in the process of wanting to improve on the process. One of the few things that this has happened to both parties that have failed us in this 1992 is one thing that for me is good here. That we took a policy, the new government has taken a policy and is working on it. But how do we make sure that we're taking learnings out of that? That's what we want to do. And I'm hoping that we can listen to these questions that my colleague is asking and then get the answers in there and in the process be able to sort it out.
And optimize policy.
Optimize the policy, because definitely that's the way to go. And look at all of it, So when Doc was talking about, and when we start talking about the benefits, the economic benefits, let's also make sure that we're looking at the economic costs. For those of us who are into agriculture, one of the challenges that has happened is that with this thing that is happening, though your imports have become cheaper, our exports have become expensive. Yeah. And also it's resulted in dumping, to the extent that I don't know whether Senor still has some rice. I have rice that I produce that I have still not sold. So we are looking at all of this, and we should look at all of these factors so that we can improve on it. Sometimes there's too much heat and the fire is, actually there's too much smoke, but the fire itself that should cook the thing is not there.
And on this particular note about what the way forward is, Is the GANRAP going to address the matters of the loss magnitude or the scope and scale of the loss, and exactly why the Bank of Ghana, wrapped up its involvement in all of this?
GANRAP effectively moves the policy out of the central bank to the fiscal side, effectively. And it still has a certain monetary policy goal, where they say they are trying to look at the 15-month reserves. I have an alternate perspective on that policy outlook, but that's a different conversation.
The GANRAP is in two parts. The large scale is still with Bank of Ghana.
Yeah.
Then is the artisanal and small scale. Yes.
Ultimately, liability is now sitting at the Ministry of Finance. I'm not too sure GANRAP has spelled out clearly the operational strategy to deal with this liability, apart from assign responsibilities and ensure accountability. That's why I say the conversation we should be having is how are we going to operate to either zero out this cost or bring it to a level that our budget can manage vis-a-vis fiscal returns relative to it. Because now it's a fiscal matter, even though to always still have a monetary policy impact. Okay, so things like inflation and all that, it will affect it. But now it's sitting on the books of the government. We are going to use taxpayers' money to pay. It's not to say that when there's a central bank, taxpayers' money will not pay. Anything there, if you're going to show up the balance sheet of the central bank, you still need taxpayers' money to do it. That's why LPP has a legitimate reason to have the questions. It's just that the approach, I think, was off. And I like the way where you were going was cost 90.
Well, that was, I said it was
you were going after gold bond. This policy. You see, when a trading loss is a function of two core things.
That's a roundup.
Your total cost of buying something and the revenue you associate with it. The decision on how you buy, where you buy, how much you buy, has a final say with the central bank. How you sell, who you sell, how much you sell, and when you sell, also again sits with the central bank. You can't bring gold bond into this. And that's where they miss the plot. We had a perfect opportunity to have a good economic policy conversation. And this policy started as it is funded by...
So let me just... you interrupted me.
We are brothers. We have a conversation.
Say don't bring gold bond. When we give the money to gold bond, is it not gold bond who went to choose the aggregator?
No, it hasn't got anything to do with the aggregator. It has everything to do with the pricing policy that they are supposed to operate.
But it has nothing to do with the forex differentials and all of those things.
If I ask you to go and buy me cassava, and you go and choose to buy from Antiadra and Atiama, and I tell you that buy the cassava at no more than 2 cedis, and you still don't go and buy it at no more than 2 cedis, do I care what you...
No, but therefore,
how does that change that?
When it comes to the service charges, when it comes to lots of other things, there are other entities involved. Those were chosen by Gold Board.
No.
At the end of the day...
So who does the service? It's Gold Board itself that does it. They are saying, they've always been the assayer of this country in forever under PMMC.
But we're not saying that...
And those charges were already there.
We are saying they are involved in the process. There's two people. One is the financier, and one is the actual person who is handling the gold.
Operating as an agent of the principal. Who is the financier?
If you are my agent, I can still ask you questions.
No, I agree.
So what you're saying?
I'm saying you don't hold them responsible for that loss.
No.
That loss doesn't sit with them.
They are both this agent.
The first person you should be sermoning.
Okay, let me just add one last one.
Gabo, the first person you should sermon is the central bank.
You don't let me talk.
Oh no, you are my brother. We can always have a conversation.
I'm saying that agent, unfortunately, is not a private agent. It's also a government agent.
Agreed.
So let's go through the whole process of agency.
I agree.
That's all.
The only problem you had with that advocacy is that you guys missed the boat.
Well, we did it.
You'd have made the central bank at the center of this conversation.
We wanted to make it holistic.
No, it was politics you were playing.
Oh, no.
All right. If you made the central bank at the center of it, you'd have had the answers properly. What did we end up getting? Sami Jefi coming to prove to you that he was not making a loss. Have we advanced this conversation as a country? No.
Okay.
The real issues have not been addressed.
Sami Jefi proved what?
But I showed you that I didn't make a loss.
Really?
But has he made a loss? Sami Jefi hasn't made a loss. You people just went for the guy for nothing. You should have gone for policy. And that is my problem with the MPP. It's a policy house. Your father and his seniors, like J.H. Mensah, like Darocha, these were people who advanced proper policy conversations. And that is why when you get the opportunity, you guys don't miss it. But Gabo, you see the way you've been speaking today. You are one of the blessings the MPP has. And I hope the MPP would acknowledge that in the future. I'm being honest with you.
This one is sideways. Let's get to the main.
No, I'm just telling you that. You see your advocacy. You see how a little constrained it is. Because this is not a conversation we should be having. You should be rather debating whether the MPP has optimized a policy you set out, rightly or wrongly, and telling Ghanaians how it could have been done. And we always see you as the proper alternate government. But we are not seeing that. We're having this conversation about Gold Board when they are not at the heart of the core policy matter. And that's my problem.
But of course, we were not brought in.
So guys, the conversation must move. This program would conceptually not stop. The country needs it. But its content and its strategy must be revised and optimized.
Right. Senor, just finally, are you saying that we shouldn't ask questions about this?
No.
But that's what we have done.
No, that's not what
we are going to continue doing that.
Okay. You have not done that. Ask the right question to the right people.
Yes.
Everything else will evolve.
I need to round up on this. Yes.
Yeah, I think we all agree that the program is good. The domestic gold purchase program is good. The design is too generous. Too many giveaways,
exactly,
premiums, discounts, tax relief, etc. And so we should try and minimize, optimize. As Senor and I, we are using the same word, optimization. So another point I want to add to optimization is that the marginal benefits of the policy will not continue to be rising. The marginal benefits of this reserve accumulation, CD value show up, etc., eventually may stay stable or even decline. And therefore, we must also keep our eyes on the marginal cost, because optimization means the marginal benefit minus the marginal cost must be equal to zero. So if the marginal benefit is staying stable or declining, the marginal cost must also be stable and declining.
Exactly.
That is why it is important to keep our eyes on both the benefits and the cost. And especially now that Gold Board is going to be a monopsony. One of the advantages of being a monopsony is to have control over prices. So going forward, Gold Board should be able to tell the miners that I'm going to buy your gold at this price. And they must make a choice between buying the gold or giving the Bank of Ghana rate or interbank rate, or giving away the tax, because they can't have the two.
Yes.
They can't actually, because the tax relief is about 2 billion Ghana cedis. And so you can't have the two. So once you become a monopsony and you have closed the borders, then you can have that power and determine the prices. And my other point is that the whole conversation about it should be a shared responsibility. Right. For instance, if you want to control smuggling, price incentive is not the only way to control smuggling. Let's strengthen our border controls. And my last point before I leave is
1.7 billion could have helped.
How to move from stability to economic growth and development. My friend Ken made a point that when the city appreciates, exporters lose, importers gain. A country that wants to build industries, industrialize, and promote exports, rather will be celebrating depreciation instead of celebrating appreciation. In fact, countries have intentionally devalued their currencies to promote their exports. And so we should have the bigger picture and not be too obsessed with, CD appreciation and all that. We must have a bigger plan on what we build, what type of economy are we building on the stability. Okay. Because the stability itself is not an end, it's a means. We must have a bigger picture and build on it.
To economic transformation.
I'm saying this because the cost of economic transformation now is low because of the stability, low inflation, low exchange rate. Yeah. If these things pick up, the cost of economic transformation will be high. And therefore, you may not be able to do all the things that you want to do. So this is the right time to take advantage of what we are seeing now. 2027 budget, 2028 budget must really give us economic plan that will build on the stability. If not, the stability itself cannot sustain itself. Cool. Stability cannot sustain itself. It will take other policy interventions to sustain the stability. And so that's what we must have.
Our next conversation is going to be on the indirect cost onto the environment, which you mentioned, yes. But Honorable Bedu, Finally, a quick one on this.
So,
the Ministry of Finance should listen to this man. Closer,
I need to, John, I need to
go back to the table.
I spoke last. So quick.
Go back to the table.
Which table?
You showed us about
the laws.
The laws.
This one going to start their politics again.
We've had some 10%.
I have just 3 minutes each.
You see, we've been told about a certain laws, 10% laws, which has never existed. You said 3 minutes. That means because I have other things to say. All to tell him that they did 10% as well.
Exactly.
Yes, they did 10%. So maybe he's not checked. I mean, I need to bring that to his attention, that they did 10%. So that is the first. You see, the other issue here is this. Look, you see how he's struggling. The misconception, what we are talking about in terms of the domestic gold purchase program, it's an inherited program by this administration. Nothing has changed until Gold Board officially actually started work per the act that was promulgated by Parliament. So throughout 2020, that is why you see he sat here and he never still mentioned the losses they made in 2023, 2024. He won't mention it. That is their strategy. They will never mention what happened because it is the same way. They're scaling up. He's telling us that we should have done since it was launched in 2021. 2020. It was launched in 2021 and then it started working in 2022. Yeah. So 2022, we have been told by Mr. Okwe Council that we should have continued with pilot for how many years?
Okay.
For how many years? We had grown. We had come this far. Look, all I'm saying, and NDC, take it from me, NDC has not said anywhere, or we never said in 2022, 2023 that there shouldn't have been any cost associated with the purchase of domestic good program. We never said it. It is they. That's where the hypocrisy is. They are saying now that there is everything wrong with it, with the cost. And we are telling them that if that is the case, then go back and tell us how come you also incurred that cost. Because of course, the volumes are higher now. So the cost associated will be higher. But you cannot say that the 400 is so low because at the time you were doing around 40-something tons and all that. The other issue here is this. Look, you see.
Round up for me.
See, the other issue, and we keep telling them, nobody is running away from. Now the goalpost has been shifted. They say that, oh, no, whether it sits here or it sits there, it is no issue. It's not true. Specifically, you see, he took away. I wanted to show you. He asked a question. They asked questions from Gold Board. They asked that Gold Board answered some questions. How the gold was sold and for how much. Is it Gold Board that sold the gold? Let him read it back to you.
Okay.
Is it Gold Board that sold the gold? So how are you expecting Gold Board to account for something he is not responsible for?
And I'm specific with that time.
No, let me answer your question.
Thank you.
Your questions. I wanted to answer the questions.
Thank you.
No, I'm answering the questions you asked.
Okay, so first of all.
So you seen the 10% you also
No, first of all, I want to say that I agree with my brother on my immediate rights that some of the things that are happening are also due to the government's own policy. For example, if you look at even the forex differentials and the percentage differences and so on, I keep telling my brothers in NDC that they need to check it because it's too fake. The gap is too much. You know, as for me, it's free advice. When they came and the dollar was 14, right? Maintain it. There was no need to do any propaganda to pay $10 billion to move it all the way to 10. Because if you are even, let's say, doing your 4 points, we are looking at about maybe 2.5 billion each. If you maintain it at the 14, what are we trying to create? Certainty. Because once the markets and trading and everything is certain, it will be to the benefit. Yes, it will be beneficial to all of us. So the 40, we maintain it even for 4 years. I think that would have been a great achievement by the government. And we wouldn't have had to go to this extent where we are looking for so much money to put into our dollar appreciation that we have ended up injuring certain parts of the economy. And I was very happy when my brother mentioned the issues of exports, for example. I don't know why we sit and the main thing we hear is how things being imported have become cheaper. As if that is the only benefit and the only credit that we can give a government. No. What are we producing? And when we produce it, are things not becoming more expensive? And therefore, you won't be able to sell it. No wonder my brother have rice left that he's supposed to export, that he's not able to export. Because the thing has not been managed properly. We are saying that this whole Bank of Ghana Gold Board relationship, because that is what it is. They can somersault in the morning, they can somersault in the evening. The relationship was between Gold Board and Bank of Ghana. The relationship was not between GIPC and Bank of Ghana. So we must ask those entities. And that is why, if you look at this, for example, the Parliamentary Accounts Committee, are you aware that government agencies go there? It's not just the person who is the main holder of it. The government agencies are also invited to go there, and just to land on this. And that is why, for example, with Ghana Free Zones, even though trade was invited, they still invited Ghana Free Zones. And I'm pleased to say that when it got to attend, they said no infractions incurred. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, Lama Tikpebo's connection had a bit of a hitch because he was moving. If Lama Tikpebo can hear me, but then if he is able to connect to us and get some stable connection, we'll get to him.
Yes.
But
yeah,
yes,
Council,
because I know you're on the move. Just your take on this Gold Board, BOG and the minorities press conference on this matter, very quickly.
Okay. Yeah, so what we should be looking at is that, it's good the debate is come to the fore once again. When you continue with these debates, what happens is that then the system is forced to review. You see, the IMF report, they're talking about efforts by Gold Board to review the assay fees and all the other fees. You see that going forward, the fees are going to be lower. So for me, the positive thing we get from the debates is that once it shines light on the activities of Gold Board, then there is that incentive to try to review, to make it better. Because as a society, we don't do ourselves any good if we just kept praise singing. So it's good that these debates go on. So it's unfortunate that we've spent too much time on saying that somebody...
Sorry, I lost Martin Pebble there.
Gold Board is neither here nor there. Let's go to the substance. How do we improve the system? How do we improve the system? Because that is what will drive growth. That is what will drive the progress. So that we would stop all the issues of just playing to the gallery. Yeah? Because that's taking a huge chunk of our time. Even this morning, you see that we've been spending so much time. This one said there was a loss. This one, bottom line is that there's been a loss. So whether it's Bank of Ghana or it's Gold Board, for me, we shouldn't waste time there. What we should be looking at is that what is going to reduce that loss going forward? Yeah, it's sickening, to be honest, that we spent all that time just saying that the loss is not here, but the loss is over there. Why do we benefit from that? Why do we benefit from that? Has there been a loss? If there is, then the value is the same. But we also recognize that, but overall, the policy has helped because you see that once you have this stabilized exchange rate, which is lower, when the MPP left in January 2025, it was 14.7, right? So today it's roughly between 11 and 12. So haven't been, earlier on last year, it even came to 10 point something. But my point is that between 11, the highest being about 12, at least you see that it's overall been beneficial to our society because now prices have been lower. I always keep reminding people about the prices in December 2025, where people could buy rice, especially the imported rice and other imported items. And so Christmas was good for a lot of Ghanaians, right? So, and you see, the people want to feel good. So once prices are moderate, rated because the exchange rate has come down. Hey, you can't underestimate that at all. So for me, I think government should be highlighting the fact that prices have come down because of the stable exchange rate. That's the biggest gain we've had. And also the fact that, so that's the biggest gain. And so we should keep hammering at that instead of responding to pedestrian comments. Because for me, when I listen to that, I just think that no, we are not upping the discourse. You are in government. Concentrate on the part that moves the people forward, not point scoring. You said the loss is at point A, but the loss is at point B. Who cares about that? Who really cares? Who cares? Who cares? Look at what it has brought us, being that, prices have reduced. Prices have reduced. Of course, exporters would complain. Yes, that's always to be expected. Development will always bring injuries and disadvantages to some people. You would never develop or make progress bringing in a situation where everybody is happy. No, some people always lose. But you strike the average. You see that the reduction has brought us more good. So once the reduction in prices, inflation has been managed, and so overall we are applauding the government. I think that is bigger than the loss. So that is the message we should be discussing instead of the loss is at point B instead of point A. I mean, come on.
Thank you, Council. Thank you very much for your thoughts on this. And I have quite a number of messages. Mani Nimani says, should we have maintained it then? NPP will come back and tell us NDC could not reduce the exchange rate. He says, please ask Michael Quay. This one also here says that, thank you for the discussion this morning. To be honest, I have appreciated the issues at play. The intellectuals in the studio have brought the issues down to the level of the ordinary Ghanaian. Thank you. This one also here, Master Planner says, the fact of the matter is that 22 billion is gone. The NDC can call it operational cost, trading loss, and whatsoever. In reality and in conclusion, it is causing financial loss to the state. You say. This one also here, Koko Abochi says, please ask Mr. Quay what his theory of argument is. He just read paragraph 13 saying that payment of asset fees to Gold Board is part of the losses. Can he ask him for me? How can payment made to Gold Board for its services be a loss to Gold Board again? He should explain that to me. Is the loss to the receiver or to the one who made the payment for the service? Who is losing money and who is gaining money? Thank you.
Alfred, since he asked that one, I think he didn't listen to the whole thing. We gave that example, and we also said the exchange rate losses as well. That is between the forex rate paid to purchase the gold and all. But this comment was actually made by
that's very different from.
No, but you know, this was this.
No, but if you are answering this question, then it's different from what you're saying.
No.
Thank you.
The reason
now let's go on to the next issue.
You're not being fair. No, Okansi, he said no. Let me make this point. He said what I said from the IMF report, section 13, and that is what I read. And I'm saying that when I read it,
how can the recipient?
But how can you ask me? IMF said
okay,
it.
gentlemen, thank you. BB from Oyarifa says, good morning. With ordinary people want to understand the accounting of this gold purchase system on the side of Bank of Ghana. I tuned in this morning and I have no regrets. Thank you for bringing the guests and the issues to the fore. This one also here from Dr. Kwame Asante says, the intellectual analysis by your guest this morning has doused the politics of this particular Gold Board matter. The direction of the conversation this morning is one that brings the right questions to be answered. Thank you very much. Gentlemen, I truly appreciate it. And then this one also here says that Sami Jemfi had spoken. We needed to hear from the voices in the studio this morning. It says right questions being asked, and the minority have a point, but maybe the manner in which the questions are being asked, the context being asked, is what has led to the politics being read into their position, you say. Good morning.
The way you're asking the question is what has led.
Thank you. Let's go on to our next issue, really. This is the... So, Kotoka courage in Anglonga Lashibi Volta region.
Hey.
Thank you very much for your message. Says why are they using the media instead of using the appropriate channels to uncover the truth? Because Sammy Gyamfi says he is available and ready to meet Parliament. Okay, thank you very much for your message this morning. Well, that's what he said.
Oh, well.
He said you should ready to invite him.
I just want to tell
Thank
my
you.
brother here that as for history, we should always add it to our politics. Because you remember the Bank of Ghana strike? Over 400 million. You remember?
I'm listening.
Okay, I'm just saying, do you remember? So
I don't
today,
know
don't
what
sit
you
here
are
and
saying.
pretend that when we ask you questions,
is that
we have
the
done
reason
something
you're
wrong.
Gentlemen,
No, I'm
thank
just
you.
asking.
Now,
Let's continue.
we
How
got
can a
this.
recipient
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
money?
Thank you.
And that matters. Even himself, he agrees that Good Board has made a loss.
Thank you very much. Thank
why
you.
did- why
Thank
did
you.
your press conference ask
Alfred
you
Alfred
questions?
Appiah,
No,
who's a
I want
data
to-
scientist, says
Why did your
we
press
need
conference
to have an honest conversation on Gold Board, Gunrap, and Galamsey, you said. And mentioning Galamsey, that leads us to our next issue this morning. And let me remind you that Key Point is, as always, brought to you by Bank of Africa, as strong as a group, as close as a partner, and also GASEM, the nation builder. And Bank of Africa is telling you this morning that and also brought to you by our latest sponsor as well on the program, Bell Malt. I'll tell you about Bell Malt shortly. But from now until the end of October 2026, Bank of Africa is offering short-term loans at very slim rates to salaried workers. We understand you have urgent needs, and that's why we are bringing this intervention for you. It's straight to the point, no stress. Go through the process to get your school fees, prospectus, car maintenance, or that much deserved family vacation. Bank of Africa will sort you out quickly and fast. Call them on this number or send them a WhatsApp. They will respond immediately. 0244 338 226. 0244 338 226. Also, Bank of Africa is as strong as a group, as close as a partner. GASEM has been building the foundations of the nation for decades, and they continue to evolve to meet our building needs. GASEM is the nation builder. Bell Malt, non-alcoholic malt drink, original, is back, reloaded, and with a bang, bringing you an enjoyable malt refreshment every day. Its taste has been reimagined to be smoother, creamier, and more refreshing than ever before. Carefully crafted with quality ingredients, the new Bell Malt, as you have it, is made for everyone who celebrates their greatness. Join the movement. Visit our nearest store to experience the new Bell Malt and share your Bell Malt moment on Instagram and TikTok at Bell Beverages GH. You stand to win some goodies when you do that. For bulk orders or inquiries, contact 0544 335 900 or 0544 335 800. Bell Malt, shine your greatness. Bell Malt, a new malt experience. This advert is FDA approved. What is not FDA approved is Galamsey. And this, we got pictures from the Echiwa Forest earlier in the week, where two armed groups almost got into a bloody fight. It had to take the intervention of NIMOS to prevent what would have been a bloody clash between two Galamsey groups in that forest reserve. Senor, let me start with you on this, quick.
It's a sad story, but it points to one fact. We are nowhere near winning the fight against Galamsey. And there is a need for us to be honest about that reality. My boss is here, and my big brother is here, and I know it's one of the biggest frustrations. But I think we are getting close to a point for us to relook this entire conversation properly. I don't think that we have the kind of political capacity and will at the same time to be able to change this narrative under the current circumstances. I think we missed the opportunity to have stopped Galamsey. When Nana Addo did it the first time, he made a lot of progress. But unfortunately, he politics made him hold back. I mean, and you know, the early times, his first term, it was one of the most impactful and successful policy action.
When he put his presidency on the line.
Oh, he did at that time. And then his own people came back after him telling me he was going to lose elections. And you've heard the narratives here and there. And we lost our president at that time. It's gotten too endemic. It's gotten very integral to the socio-economic and socio-political structure right now that we can't get the proper will to be able to change things as we should.
So we can't get the proper will?
No,
What do you
I'll explain. I've spent time on this. You know, when I was writing my pieces on the central bank laws, then the IMF papers I did on the IMF related papers I did on the gold situation. There were three papers I wrote. It got me to spend time with galamseyers, with operators in there, a few community people. I mean, my boss here, Adam, also was helpful. I spoke to the large-scale mining CEOs to really get a proper understanding of where we really were. My brother, when these people go into the pit, GSS graduates, GSS dropouts.
Yeah, some of the children, 14 years old. This one, let's look. Yeah. This one we understand is a 4. Let's put this on the screen. This one is a 14-year-old boy. This one, yeah.
You shouldn't be showing his face, so.
A compliment of
a young man.
What you were just.
Mr. Galamsey.
No, please,
this was put out by NIMOS, by the way.
Agreed.
Yes.
So this guy, 14 years, goes into this pit. In a week, he possibly could be making anything around 2,000 to 10,000 cedis, depending on what role he's playing. More like 3,000 cedis a week. In this station, how many people get 3,000 cedis a week? In this your company? How many graduates in Ghana leave school and are able to get 3,000 cedis a week? There's no amount of sense you make to this guy at 14 years, at 18 years, at 21 years, at 30 years, when he's been struggling for jobs. The communities, the chiefs, they feed off this. Families feed off this same boys 3,000. People have come to find it relevant to their own socioeconomic survival without looking at the bigger picture of their own socioeconomic risk. We are a very short-term thinking people, unfortunately. So changing this has become harder than ever before. Our politicians have become part of the process because of the sensitivities of these communities, because of the, estimated 3 million or so people who work and then they are dependents. Politicians dance along and they come to Accra, stand in front of the camera and pretend to want to fight Galamsey. They don't have it in them to fight Galamsey. They don't. Because the people who send them out here seem to agitate against the fighting Galamsey. You have some communities, but I call these communities outliers, who stand up and fight this thing properly. And I praise them any day. Unfortunately, even some of the people who are even fighting them have rather been attacked by our own governments. So you have a problem with the community. You have a problem with the policy managers who should enforce and stop it. And then even our security agencies. We throw them into these bushes. NIMOS has done a great job. The truth of the matter is, even when NIMOS is pushing hard, they get calls and they tell them to slow down. When NIMOS is pushing out, you get MPs trying to fight them in their constituencies. And how much capacity has NIMOS got? Our military go there and they get compromised. The police goes there, they get compromised. And I tell you the truth, we were advocating for a state of emergency. And then I look back, I think that would have been one of the biggest mistakes the government would have done. You know why? It would have failed.
It won't.
I explain to you. No, please, let me finish. Our military would have gone there, so-called state of emergency, and the emergency would never happen on ground because they don't have the capacity. Again, I speak very informed because I have spoken with our very important security camp. It would have been the right strategy. But the reason why our politicians were afraid to even trigger that, because when that is your last, they call it your last call, if you play it and it doesn't work, you are done. We don't have the institutions and we don't have the attitude and the committed patrons adequate enough to achieve this change at this time. If we ourselves will not fix this and start holding these people, the two of them sitting here, properly to account, we won't make any progress because the whole system is a cancer. It's down. Everybody day inside. Pastors are feeding off it. Chiefs are running it. Politicians are supervising it. And they are being funded by it. And we have identified people and them having to. What progress have we seen?
Nothing.
The government promised us kingpins. There's no kingpin that have been provided. Don't tell us about Woon to me. Because Woon to me, we found Woon to me. Yes. And we found Woon to me. You have done, and there's a political incentive for you to.
Please don't
start.
Don't start.
Today, if I stay here, I'm sure by the time we will beat the two of you here. Look, Woon to me.
Don't start it.
Woon to me. We found Woon to me. The MPP government was reluctant. In fact, the president even came to say that he was not culpable.
Yes.
And he went head on with Edem at the Catholics conference. It was a very embarrassing situation.
Correct.
Practically attacking the foremost patrons in this fight.
Correct.
The president at the time. Today, Woon to me is in the cooler and he hasn't finished. We will come to the Nimri one.
That's our
You understand? But that is our case. And we appreciate the current government for prosecuting it. I commend Dominic Ayini and his team for it. We appreciate that. But you should come and give us your kingpins that you promised. Not the ones we had already identified for you. It's only one. Woon to me is not the only reason why all our rivers are bad. It's just one small fraction of the entire thing. Where are the other kingpins? But the kingpins are not coming. You know why? The kingpins are both ways.
If you say both ways, what do you mean?
Oh, the kingpins who were before, they were endemic in the politics. The kingpins that are still there and who were there before, they are also still endemic in the politics. They are funding both parties.
The kingpins are funding MPP and NDC.
Everybody, that is it. So you are having a problem.
You know this?
You said.
And you know this how?
Where is the inertia from? Think about it. Where is the inertia from? You see, I mean, the president will sit there, will get some reports. They'll show 1, 2, 3 show. We agree. But we ask one thing. Let us start looking at the output and measure it. Simple matter. Right now, I don't even want to discuss Galamsey. I want the president and all the Ghana Water people every week come and publish the BDT.
The president promised us that.
Oh, we went for that thing, remember?
Yes.
Publish it. Yes. Let it be objective and make sure your facilities are open. So any inquiry by any private researcher can be done to validate it.
Now, because Ghana Water, they've prevented Ghana Water from providing the data.
I'm going there. And we said, look, let Ghana Forestry Commission give us monthly or quarterly reports on the state of our forest reserves and everything. Publish it. Is it getting better? Is it getting worse? We'll be able to see it plain. It's not a long thing. I've moved on. When you start showing those data and the president is publishing it on a weekly basis, in Ghana, like I always tell people, and also as a former lecturer, we actually learn to pass exams, not to know. So what you are not going to exam people do not properly prepare for.
That's true.
So let's set the exam for our politicians and the government of the time, because they are responsible. It's not the MPP now. Our water bodies, our forest reserves, our food quality. These are the core of our environmental hazard around Galamsey. These three, plus security.
Because all these boys, like the way they've declared, is it dollar power? That town called dollar power, almost ungovernable. All right?
Yes.
If we don't set a parameter and have a process of consistent reporting, the politicians will not move. If the president every week is seeing that the water turbidity is getting worse, the water quality is also getting worse, and there's a research body that supervises this and is giving a report, and the whole Ghana is seeing that the thing is getting worse, nobody will tell him that for him to sustain his presidency, he has to do more. But when we are all sitting here with information not being so transparent, not being so available, what are we going to say? If every week you are realizing that the contomere you are eating has more arsenic inside, and you are likely going to have a certain kind of cancer or something if you continue eating, you see people's thinking and attitude will change. The fight today, Adam will shout, what's his name? Daryl will shout, I will come inside, small. My brother here, his constituency is a Galamsey constituency, but he will come and speak against Galamsey nicely. We don't know what's happening on ground. Mining community, sorry. You are right, you are the mining community. Where are we going? We are not saying that mining should stop. Mining accounts for 63% right now of our total gold, of our exports.
Then artisanal small-scale mining actually has overtaken.
It has overtaken, so it is doing about 33%. It's doing 33% of the whole 100%. Then add the last scale mine, everything go to around 63%. My brother, there is no fiscal economic incentive right now for any government, NDC or MPP, to just jump into this particular thing. You know, the MPP were saying at the time, and I wasn't hearing well. But when I saw the thing, 63% today, the economy is significantly anchored on gold. A significant process of gold is ASM. And it's needless to say, a lot of ASM gold is contribution is significantly going to be coming from these irresponsible activities. Fighting it has two problems for you as a politician. Your economy may quickly crash. You have societal upheavals, you have a higher youth unemployment, and you have a bigger security risk. At the same time, not fighting it, you are destroying the future of your country, the sustainability of your environment, to sustain your own people, and you're also creating a huge black economic and security risk for the survival of the state and avoiding you becoming a nation. So it's a very complex problem than it used to be. We miss an opportunity. But right now, in all honesty, if we don't let information transformation, information transparency lead and create an accountable metric for our politicians, they will not find the agency for them to translate policy into transforming the situation. I have suggested, and we've been having this discussion still ongoing, that if you can't fight this as you should, then the minimum you should do right now is to correct Galamsey. How do we correct Galamsey? We need to formalize the illegal miners, and we need to regularize their kind of operation and what do you call it, a methodology. Can we inject technology? Because Adam, start to correct me if I'm wrong. Their recovery rate is around 30%.
Yeah, 40.
Yeah. And then large scale recovery is what? Around 98 and all that. Can we spend a bit more? Formalize these people. You are going to mine, but you have to mine the right places. You have to mine with the right processes. You don't have the capital for it. We'll rather help you with the capital for it because we need the good for the economy. So we'll help you with the capital, we'll help you with the technology. You move your recovery from maybe 30 to 40% to maybe around 80. The increased value, all right, we'll use it to pay for that investment that we make. But since we are formalizing you and we are regularizing you, you're also going to be compliant. The reason why Galamsey thrives like that is that these methods that they use that destroy is cheaper and it's easy and it's more accessible to them. Can we change that? We may need to become more practical than just screaming. So a plethora of options. Let's start creating an accountable metrics for our government
on the things that matter to us. Let's also invest in technology and regularization and formalization of the sector to be able to correct the practices so that the business can go on, but will not go on properly. The economic returns will come. Those of you chopping will chop. I don't have a problem there. But please, we need to keep and save our country for the future and sustainability of our children and children's children. Where we are today, we have failed.
Engineer, you're on the ground. You come face to face with some of this. In fact, the other day you sent me a video of persons, illegal miners who took the AK-47 of police officer.
Exactly. Again, you see, for me, that is the big challenge that confronts us. And I pray, because you see, we have His Excellency the President, who is our last hope. Unfortunately, he does not have another 2 years. He has only a few months to go where he becomes a lame duck because he's in his last tenure. And so if he does not deal with it today, even his presidency is at risk. Now you have these galamseyers who can confront police people, take 4 AK-47s from them. You go into these communities, the people that provide security for them, most of them don't speak the languages of the people in those communities. Because unfortunately, Ghana is also surrounded by, the Sahel that has a lot of these terrorists, and they come to Ghana to come and rest. They come to Ghana to come and recuperate. Then they come to Ghana to also come and gather resources and then use that to go and prosecute their wars.
It's a potent national security threat.
Completely. It is not potent. It is a palpable one. In the past, when you see one military man, people run. But when you have a situation where 8 military men, including a colonel, are attacked by thugs, then you should know that you are getting to the point of no return. Unfortunately, because our firefighters are the arsonists, the people we have put into power to be able to deal with the situation are part of the solution, of the problem. It's the reason why we are where we are. So when Senor talks about the fact that we need to get our people to mine responsibly, let's not forget that that's why the MPP started community mining. That is why this government has said they're doing responsible mining. So that is definitely a component of what we need to do. Find ways in which we can do it right and do it well. But when we sit and we tickle ourselves and laugh, there's a video I saw recently where Sammy Gyamfi was talking about the solutions he prescribed, about the MCEs, DCEs. It is the solution. You see, Galamsey is a national problem, but it's a local problem. And the solutions are local. So if the president has told us that he's going to make Galamsey a KPI for DCEs and MCEs, but in how many months, and we have not seen any DCE being prosecuted, being held accountable, how can we say that Mpoho, the DCE for Mpoho, the police commanders for Mpoho, they are sitting at their police station opposite its Butre River? There are galamseyers in the river mining, and they are waiting for the Honorable Minister for Lands and Natural Resources to bring NIMOS there. And currently, the IGP, respectively, those police people are still in power. And the MCEs and DC for that Mpoho area are still sitting there. That for me, does not. How is it that the MCEs and DCs from Bonsu Junction, to Osino, hidden in plain sight, are galamseyers? I'm sure currently if you go there, they are still there. And will tell us that the BNI in that community, the police commanders in that community, the MCs and DCs are not going to be held responsible. How is it that the chiefs of Awin would mention the MP for Awin being involved in Galamsey? And he says it's not true, but it's the chiefs that are, and then we don't have any investigation currently going on whether it is the chiefs or is it the MCE. There's one of the DCs in the Eastern region who is a contempt convict by court. And the issues are Galamsey related. You know what the MCE says? It says the people who took him there, they are the Galamseyers. So why is it that MC is still sitting there? Because if it is that he's actually the one guilty, by now we should be dealing with him. Why is it that he's there? And if it is true, the thing that he's saying is the Galamsey that is the kingpin, why is it that Galamsey has not been arrested? How come there's no investigation into it? You know, so in terms of the examples of not wanting, and again, we got one of your media houses do an investigation that showed that assemblies were going to the theater of the crime and going to collect fees and charges for people who engage in the illegality. And when you read Act 995, the Minerals and Mining Act, it talks about the fact that anybody facilitates. Then you also have the situation where these assemblies would then take chamfangs and one legs, equipment that are prescribed by government, which we say is illegal, and they charge for it. And there's evidence, and that evidence is collated by a media house, presented to government, and what we hear is that they did not know, and that is an internal, they thought it was internal generating, and all we're going to do is to train them. These are, and the argument is that they started before them. These are people who have committed crimes. Because if you look at the act, it says if you facilitate it. How is it that the MP for Oda mentions the DC for Oda as charging 14,000, 10,000 and all of that for people who are involved in illegality? And the MCE's only, this thing is that they did not have permit. But the MCE has Mincom, he has EPA people. The question you should be asking, those people who are mining, did they have the EPA permits? Do they have Mincom before they even start? If not, they are involved in a crime. And this MCE goes to collect this money, and his argument is that they were given receipts. Is that what the president took him there to go and do? To supervise and facilitate illegal mining? And there's no investigation in it. So you see, we don't seem to see the challenge that is confronting us. This thing is eating us up. You know the reason why DR Congo is struggling to be on its own? We allow this thing to ferment, and the people who control that economy because of the resources they have are these criminal actors. In these situations of Galamsey, most of the people who bring their funding for our people to do, they take about 85% of the spoils. And we have a situation, the current Speaker of Parliament has sat in Parliament and has said to us that he knows that people in there are involved in Galamsey. The current president has told us that he knows some of his people are involved in Galamsey. How are we not dealing with them? Professor Frimpong's Boate's report is replete with a lot of politically exposed persons who are named. How come they've not been dealt with?
So you question the political will?
Oh, definitely. You see, the thing about it is that Galamsey is funding our political system. And not only that, the chiefs. I was in New Ebrim. There was a chief who, in public, we had gone to give menstrual hygiene equipment to girls. He said 80% of his colleague chiefs were involved in Galamsey. You see, so it is critical that we need, to confront the issues that are happening. And it will start with our political leadership. But bear in mind, His Excellency the President has also invited all of us to treat that we should support this particular fight. So for me, a major challenge I have is most of the middle class, most of us, we are sitting down quietly and looking aloof. But the Constitution tells us that sovereignty resides with us. So what is happening to us? The pastors, imams in those communities that they sing, are they saying they don't know the things that are happening? The chiefs who are not in Galamsey. And again, let's bear in mind, there are communities when the community people says they won't allow Galamsey to happen. It's not happening. Jema is one of them. Brekum recently did some demonstration. That some of the, so we need to support these communities. Jema has a chief, a very frail chief, working together with a Catholic priest called Father Blake, and community who have now decided that they are not going to allow Galamsey. And they actually are policing it. There's a community in the eastern region too that have a river called Subone. They have a queen mother. They don't have a chief. They and their queen mother have said that they are not going to let Galamsey up. And Subone is clean. Go and look at the Brim. To the extent that the Brim River, the water treatment plant, is completely closed. But we have a chief in Chebi and all of that. So I'm saying that the issues is not only the politicians, and sometimes we run quickly to the politicians, and yes, definitely they also have to hold the kettle. It is also other elements in terms of, recently in Takwa, there is a journalist who's died He died in the pit. So when we say that thing, it's not as if we journalists, some of our people are also involved in it. He died in the pit. They had gone there and it came in. You see, so we need to start treating this thing the way it is. But for me, I'm looking for that video that Sammy Gyamfi said. When he was in opposition.
To hold the MCs and DCs.
Hold the MCs, DCs, police commanders in those communities, and also the MPs as well. They also have a role to play. The MPs who come from the community, they can help.
They
are honorable as well. He talks about this area is a mining community. Let's ask how many legal mining firms are in that community, and the rest who are not licensed. They are not there. They're definitely illegal. So we should start holding everybody to account. When we start holding everybody to account, people will start. So the point that Senor mentioned about the data, you see, when those times we were publishing the level of the Volta River, when the water level was bad, all of us were responding to it. So if all of us know that the water you are drinking itself, Ghana Water is not able to treat all the heavy metals, arsenic, the lead, and all of that. And you start seeing the water quality report, and then the food you are eating, then all of us then will now start seeing that, yes, in as much as some people are making money out of it, they are dying. You go into these communities, the renal diseases are on the increase. Another thing I also call on is our doctors. I think that they need to start sharing data that they are seeing in terms of the pathology that they are seeing from people who are dying, the level at which this is happening. Because you see, all of us were sitting and we think we are all fine. Because now when you go to somewhere around cantonment, there is a shop there that people are importing water and bringing it. But those people who are buying those water, are they using it to bath? When they go to the restaurant, do they know what the food they are eating and all of that? But we are all oblivious. We think Galamsey is far off. And some people are benefiting from it. But we are killing our country. This country, unfortunately, Ghana has gone extinct before. Ghana will go extinct if we don't stop what we're doing. And let's not, tickle ourselves and think it will happen to our children. It will happen in our time. And unfortunately, we are the people who have destroyed this country. Our fathers did not do this. It is us who have done it.
That timeline of possibly importing water is 2030.
No, don't forget about importing water. You will not be able to import water. You will not. Because all the people who surround us, Ghana has a lot more water than, are we going to have enough water to import water from where? Where are we going to import it from? So, you see, we also, that is a lie we tell ourselves that we can wait till 2030. No,
but
there's no water to get.
I didn't say we can wait. But, you see, it is good that we have a member of parliament whose constituency is a major mining constituency in this country. And they also have that challenge of having some illegal mining activities in there. Honorable Bedu, this is a matter right at your doorstep, but I know as well that there's some interventions in there to address it. But where is the disconnect? Because there's NIMOS, the communities themselves, and then you have forestry.
Let me just say one thing about NIMOS. That NIMOS is doing a great job. I think we need to. And then one of the new things NIMOS has brought up now that we need to commend is that they are not just, now they are not dealing with it like the past where it was only their people. Now they go into communities and they bring the local people to be able to support. There was an issue in the Chebi, for example, Apedra, for example. Now they will then use the police people. In the north, they did a hit. They brought the military. So NIMOS is doing a good job. But unfortunately, they are all sitting and waiting for NIMOS. I just thought I needed to add that.
Right. So where is it? What is not being done? Where is the disconnect? Because as NIMOS has been commended here, Forestry Commission, their forest guards are in there. You have communities that are also mobilizing to complement the fight. So what is not being done?
So I think the problem is well known. It's known. I mean, it's about the solution. It's become complex, I must say. You see, complex because it is a crime not against the person, but against the state. And so it is the state against its citizens. Mm-hmm. The state moves in, and the citizens, we've seen videos, sometimes women, chiefs. Mm-hmm. Recently, a pastor was, I think, arrested somewhere in connection with this. Look, it appears everybody is in there. Yes, military officers, armed, they go there. Will you kill everybody? Because sometimes the people stand up with you. They said, no, we are coming, kill us. It's a delicate situation. So I would advise, because these things, of course, if there are foreigners who are coming into it, because we are in already, and so they come to aid us do it, we must be careful. Because you see, in the end, if the results is palatable, it's for us. And if it is the reverse, it's for us. Nobody is saying we shouldn't mine. No one has said that. But use the appropriate, regime, the authority, go and obtain your licenses and all that. And especially, you see, the main challenge we have is mining in the water bodies, along the water bodies, sometimes in there, the use of chamfans and in the forest reserve. A lot is being done. But the challenge is that the law enforcement officers cannot keep being in the forest, in the water. They do it, leave, and then the next minute, we go back there and do the same thing. I would appeal to the people of Ghana because, you see, the authorities need our cooperation. And the country belongs to us. If we continue doing the wrong things and expect that the president who sits in Accra should do some magic, it will not help. Because then either you arrest everybody, how large is your prisons, or you kill everybody if you are armed and you get there and then just fire at anyone.
So decentralize the fight.
Yes, you see, decentralize. The challenge really, I've told you, the challenge is that the way we see it is not how those who are involved also see it. Look, sometimes you may even decide to develop a plan, alternative livelihood, whatever. The amount these people get a day in what they are doing, take any project there, let them plant trees. How much are you paying them? They won't do it. The reason when you go to those areas, people are not so much interested in, doing or going to school or ending up at a very tender age, and because they don't even see the future. If they are to even acquire those degrees, but here the future is now. He sells his cocoa farm, and then whoever takes so much, gives him so much money, and he can use it to even do whatever, build houses and then do all kinds of things. If his son or daughter seeks to, travel outside for greener pasture, where a connection man is taking around 100,000, where is he going to? He will sell the cocoa farm and take the money. He would not, these things we are doing here, he doesn't care. He says it's my land. That's how he understands it. It's my farm. I'm selling it. What's your problem? It's not for the president. He will tell you this. So when you get there and this is happening, it's either you hold these people responsible and maybe arrest or kill or maim or whatever. But unfortunately, as a government, I will continue encouraging stakeholders in there, especially Mr. Ashby and then hold on. You see, at least we appreciate what the government is doing. It may not be enough, as we've all heard, but let's keep encouraging. Let us keep prescribing solutions. Because you see, recently he said that the new strategy is that we are going to establish camps within the reserves. They will not, NIMOS will not go there and leave back. They will be there. In fact, I think it's commendable. Because it appears the people are so, and sometimes you even have, there are things we cannot see. There are things we cannot see. Sometimes the official even gives information to the people who are with that. These people will be coming out. That's why NIMOS sometimes come unannounced. They don't immediately they know when they will leave. Immediately they leave. The next minute they are there mining.
Some officials give the Galamsey operators information.
It happens. When I say officials, I'm not talking of politicians necessarily. The security. Why? Sometimes you go there and you see there are things we cannot say. There is a big problem. So you don't even know who you can trust now. The security services, the law enforcement officers we send there to work to ensure that it doesn't happen. If it is still happening, then the question is how come? Like he said, there is a police commander, BNI officer, national security operatives, the district chief executive, They are all there. So if it is still happening, do we still ask the president who sits in Accra? I am a member of the Lands and Natural Resources Committee, and I know how much, in terms of money, we meet NAIMOS often. The budget allocation, this is what the government can do. Give to them, let them go and work. If we are not seeing results, as for the policy is that let's create this blue water guard. The policy, nice, but the implementation, is it yielding results? That, it's a problem. So please, you see, it's a very, very, very delicate situation, and it is not now. And that is why I'm not being partisan. I won't go there. As for the politicians, if you, and like I said, Mr. Ashigwe can say we've both failed, I won't have much to say.
Right.
But you see, we are trying to do something. We are trying, because look, these are livelihood matters. They will tell you that this is what we want to do. Leave us and let us do it. It is either you take them on, sometimes even chiefs. Why? Are the chiefs saying they don't know what is happening? Which chief can say that they don't know people are mining on their lands?
This matter was a major political issue as well going into election 2024. So you are trying, but you are being benchmarked with what you said you would do.
Absolutely.
In the fight against Galamsey as a government. That is what we're going to get into after this quick break. Engineer Michael Kwe will have his take as well on this. I'll go for a quick break when I'm back. I'll be back. I'll come. Sorry. Honorable Michael Kwe will come on this. But as always,
my
outfit, yes, you will. My outfit this morning is by Kogra Clothing. It's the best version of you. You can contact them for what you see me wearing every Saturday. And this one as well. For a very good package, you can call them on 026 055 8056. 026 055 8056. For some more. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. Stay with us.
Cobra. But if we throw our hands in the air, we will die.
How can we throw our hands in the air? We can't.
We will die. Chief, they will come for you. They will come.
The taste of our consumers are changing. We need to develop a more
Every dish tells a story. Every flavor carries a legacy in this 20th legacy edition of Ghana's Most Beautiful. Our queens take us on a delicious journey across Ghana, celebrating the traditional delicacies that have been passed down through generations, from how they are prepared and enjoyed to the unique flavors and health benefits. Discover the taste, culture, and heritage behind every dish. Support your favorite by dialing *713*13# or download the TV3 Reality app to vote. GMB at 20, celebrating culture, grace, and legacy.
Brought to you by
Gino Pomo Tomato Mix,
GTP, Geisha Black Soap, Kivo Gari 4-in-1 Mix, and Kivo Hot Pepper. Obwasi Numna Wumwankasa.
Incaressed by NK Pharma.
Heaven Black Mosquito Spray and Coil. Gastron from Ennis Chemist. Fratelli Calipo. Dragnet.
Global Wings Travel and Tour,
Lady Fort.
Vitamilk,
Vigatim, tough on malaria, easy on you.
Covered Cosmetics.
Ready White Oat.
In a world full of noise, clarity matters. Stories shape us, ideas challenge us. An honest dialogue moves us forward. This is a space for depth, where voices are heard and perspectives matter. Conversations with Dr. Abnanya Kwasmini, coming soon on TV3.
TV3, first in news.
Issues while setting the agenda for transformation and national development. The big and important stories are treated from the human interest angle, while the facts and the figures are painted with precision. So now, let's cut the convention and start the conversation here on Ghana Tonight. I am your host, Alfred Okansi.
Ghana Tonight shows Monday to Friday at 10 p.m. on TV3.
Brought to you by Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.
Kel Charcoal Toothpaste.
Every dish tells a story. Every flavor carries a legacy in this 20th legacy edition of Ghana's Most Beautiful. Our queens take us on a delicious journey across Ghana, celebrating the traditional delicacies that have been passed down through generations, from how they are prepared and enjoyed to the unique flavors and health benefits. Discover the taste, culture, and heritage behind every dish. Support your favorite by dialing *713*13# or download the TV3 Reality app to vote. GMB at 20, celebrating culture, grace, and legacy.
Brought to you by
Gino Pomo Tomato Mix,
GTP, Geisha Black Soap, Kivo Gari 4-in-1 Mix, and Kivo Hot Pepper. Obwasi Numna Wumwankasa.
Incaressed by NK Pharma.
Heaven Black Mosquito Spray and Coil. Gastron from Ennis Chemist. Fratelli Calipo. Dragnet.
Global Wings Travel and Tour,
Lady Fort.
Vitamilk,
Vigatim, tough on malaria, easy on you.
Covered Cosmetics.
Ready White Oat.
Mina All-in-One Nutri-Mix.
To you by Bank of Africa, GASM.
Welcome back to Key Point on TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7 on the Voice of London radio in the heart of the City of London, and Voice of London television as well, and a number of radio stations across the country. In as much as this, engineer, is an environment matter, it's a governance issue, it's also a political matter as well. And that's what I was asking about before we went on the break, because there were specific promises that the NDC made in the fight against Galamsey, and what you were going to do. And it's on that basis that you are being assessed now. Some comments that were made by you while in opposition has also been referenced, that this could have been dealt with within a week. So why are we not seeing all of this?
So that is not also to say we've not done anything at all. Is there a problem of this nature? That is why we keep revising the strategy. And I've just told you what the president has said. Because even if you resolve it now, and the next minute, the people or some other persons get into it, you will have the same problem. So it's not as if, because one of the first things we intended doing was to preserve and protect the forest reserve.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, Mr. Ashigwe is here. Do we have some forest reserves which are still under the authority of the Galamseyers? As known. So you see, we've done something. But the challenge is that the people who intend proceeding on that tangent, doing the unlawful act, will continue doing it after you've left. And the president says, no, now we are not leaving. We are going to stay there and ensure that you don't do it. We also said that, for instance, the airline that was promulgated to ensure that people mind it, we did something about it. No doubt. So I'm saying that, you see, that's the politics of it. I am not here to say that we've resolved the problem entirely. But the things we set out to do in the early stages, we've done a number of them. But those who are in the act of doing the unlawful acts keep changing their strategy. And so as a government, we have to also, and so we admit that we need to do more, revise the strategy, and then go on a tangent where it will be very difficult for the Galamseyers to actually, because in the end, the kind of destruction we are seeing, we may not be able to fix them again.
Situation. That's a worrying aspect of what we are talking about today. And the evidence of it is right before us. We're seeing in many ways playing out right before us. Honorable Michael Okoye on this.
Yes, I mean, this Galamsey matter is quite bad. But what do we do? The issues are there. I'll come to what Dr. Bawumia has, for example, suggested as some of the things we can look at. So we are forward thinking. But the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So when you are elected to be in charge, you are in charge. We were told, despite previous failures, that we are in charge, so we are in charge. Mr. Ken, you put us in that situation.
Definitely.
You went on demonstrations against us.
Yeah.
My brother here, they did the same. So now that NDC is in the boat, my brother is speaking a lot of nice English, tangents. No tangent today. Because you see, when they were in opposition, I remember people like my, how should I say, younger brother, Ghanaian, St. George, telling us that Galamsey can be solved in 3 months. I hope you remember that.
Yeah.
In 3 months. And he gave us all the things that should be put in place to do it. But today now the government has been in power for more than that. A year and a half, in fact, more than a year and a half, because now we're in August. And that has not happened. I want the government to understand, an easy lies ahead that wears the crown. Once you are in government, we are going to give you pressure. We are going to task you, especially as the turbidity levels are rising. And to the extent that Ghana water workers are telling us that even the accountability that is owed to us, in our time, whenever I go to Ghana Water, NDC and all the various NGOs, they'll go and bring the turbidity levels and come and tell us that Shensiono this color. And again,
Let's move on.
Oh, no, don't worry. I'm just saying, we are moving on because we are not moving on. We should be able to move on where still the turbidity levels are available for comparison. But when now the government is using autocratic means to stop it, then there's no accountability to the Ghanaian people. Yeah. Then at that point, we'll remind you that, anyone almost in state of emergency. Run away at the guns.
Oh, we should go. State of emergency is still...
But today, President John Mahama, in his fine voice, he will lower his voice in a way. And tell you, well, if we go on the state of emergency, we can't do it. And no state of emergency. No. The way that he was saying it before, Haruna Idrisu was saying it before, Eric Opoku was saying, I know, don't worry. We are moving on. The way that they said it in that voice, I'm also saying it. We must then therefore look at declare a state of emergency.
Did you agree there?
No, I'm coming. I'm just saying it in addition. Then I'll add that how can that be a solution? A state of emergency? It doesn't matter whether I agree then or not. You told Ghanaians that you would declare a state of emergency, and so they voted for you.
Selected areas.
So once you said that you declare a state of emergency in selected areas, let us go ahead and do it. And Ghanaians, please, me, because of short memory, I'm going to say it. These same NDC people, and I'm happy that Senor Hosi said President Nana Akufo-Addo, his first time was impactful. It was very impactful. Do you know why it failed? When we were going into the 2020 elections, people like President John Mahama himself, Obin, Akamba, and so on, the videos are there. They went into the pits and told the people two things. One, say, two, now the people were assured that when NPP loses, they will be able to operate. So all the mining areas voted against Nana Akufo-Addo.
No, that's not true.
And Nana Akufo, I'm telling you, almost all of them. That is why we lost.
It's not true.
I don't worry about dispute. We too, that's our research. And I'm telling you this. No. I'm telling you this. A lot of the mining areas, they voted against. Oh, don't you relax. Then Nana Akufo-Addo.
I think that this particular.
Let me make the point.
So leave that one.
Let me make the point.
So mention
voted against Nana Akufo-Addo.
Where?
What do you mean like where?
Which of the areas?
Well, we don't know places in Pristy and all of that where we lost our seat.
The results were mixed though.
Yes, wait.
So what are the figures?
Please don't come and ask me technical questions. Because you are in the technical seat, you are not answering it, you are going to ask me technical questions. I'm saying it made Nana Akufo-Addo very unpopular in the mining areas. And we lost a lot of seats in those places.
So you gave up.
And when we lost the seats, when Nana Akufo-Addo came back to MPP, we told you that that now we will go and do sense, and then we will get a situation where we get nothing.
But Gabo is still lost.
No, you're not getting it. Yes, no. So we lost even more.
Yes.
Because by that time, people like yourself and others had now blamed the Galamsey on Akufo-Addo's stepping back and saying that he has stopped and that's why it's worse. So we lost. Now you are in power. You said you would do A, B, C, D. You haven't done it. And then now we should look at it as, it's a problem. And it's no!
Some of us won't stop.
Yes, Ghanaians see that all that they said was blowing hot. And what they said they would do, they couldn't do. Now, if you say you do something and you can't do it, you yourself ask the Kukromoti what you should do. This one. I'm just saying that. Until then.
8 years.
But why are you interrupting me?
I wanted to help.
I know. Okay. So help me to understand. Why is it that we are sitting here today and the turbidity levels are worse? So if we are in that kind of situation, your non-performance alone shows that in 2028 you should not be voted for. We should now say that, okay, the Akufo-Addo policy, you say it failed, right? Even though we know it was impactful, it failed because of sabotage. And I think that one thing that should happen for this 2028 election, there must be a pact. Because you remember it was done before.
Yeah, we signed
when
a pact.
Dr. Bawumia was chased. Then there was a pact. And so that's one of the reasons why we MPP, we are very responsible in the way we criticize. We only use their words against them, but we tell them that, listen, we are not going to go down that lane. We are not going to go down that path of going on sabotage. We will not do it. All we are saying is that either you produce the results, and if you don't produce the results, then the MPP should be considered as the alternative. Because we were in this country when all of a sudden we saw that the gold mining areas, especially in the river areas in particular, all of a sudden we realized that Chamfan, that was about 10, has now become times 30 within just such a short period of time. Then people were asking the questions, can't we now go to the source, apart from seizing the machines that we do? We go and seize it. Sometimes we burn it, right? The next thing you see, when the excavators are seized, these same government officials, as they were complaining before, will then go and release this thing to the people who are doing the illegal mining.
There's something in Ashanti region that has happened recently. You know, we have to investigate that.
And for me, what is even most painful is the fact that President John Mahama himself has said that, and I quote, we will not kid ourselves that some of our people are involved.
Are not involved, you mean?
Are not involved. We will not kid ourselves. So if you know that we don't want to treat this thing with kids' gloves, how come that people who have even been mentioned, Yamin has been mentioned, Abanga has been mentioned.
Don't go there.
By Ayeni, I didn't mention. No, don't tell me not to go there.
But I don't have the cabinet minister.
I don't know.
Professor Frimpong,
no, I'm saying I don't know. But that's why we voted out.
Don't go there.
No, you should hold on. Let me talk. You should let peace and needles catch up.
Yoko is investigating.
We don't know.
Don't go there.
Me, I don't know about that.
You don't know
All
about Frimpong Boateng's report.
No, all I'm saying is that he brought out the Frimpong Boateng report against us, right? So they voted for us.
You didn't do anything about it. The president
they voted us out. The Ghanaians did something about it. So now that you are also in power, you can't tell me that you repeat a similar thing and you are justified. No. We have paid the ultimate price for whatever you are blaming on us. So we don't worry about that. But the price now is that you have had your own attorney general, not me. Because I don't think you, Mr. Okansi, mentioned it, or even Mr. Ken Ashigbe mentioned it. It was your own attorney general who mentioned it and mentioned names. Today, our brother Ken here has mentioned MPs. Your own colleague sitting in parliament, Anyo, they mentioned his name. And yet, nothing has happened. MCs have been mentioned. They are taking money. When you go and check, they say, I had a receipt book which is not official.
That existed during your time.
No, you see, that is where you are getting it wrong.
No, it existed. You are saying we should bring you back. That's the challenge. If you had said that,
we are
saying the challenge we have is that you are saying we should bring you back.
No.
But this
we are
record
saying
you had before.
All the things you promised were not realistic. All the things you said were going to happen did not happen. All the lies you told about the fact that we have a state of emergency.
And what was your position at the time?
Oh, no, wait, you are not listening to me.
No, so
when
we were saying those things, your position at the time.
My position at the time doesn't matter. What matters is that you have lied to Ghanaians.
It doesn't matter. And
when you lie to
Ghanaians,
when you lie to Ghanaians, bring us.
You can't
because you know the right thing is coming, so you want to find a way. Let me land. So let me just land. Ghanaians, the NDC have deceived you. All the things they said they will do in 3 months of state of emergency, they've not done. Change position and let us use the Bawumia method with decentralization.
Thank you very much.
And scientific ways of handling this. Thank you. Yeah.
In this 20th Legacy edition of Ghana's Most Beautiful, our queens take us on a delicious journey across Ghana, celebrating the traditional delicacies that have been passed down through generations, from how they are prepared and enjoyed to the unique flavors and health benefits. Discover the taste, culture and heritage behind every dish. Support your favorite by dialing *713*13# or download the TV3 Reality app to vote. GMB at 20, celebrating culture, grace, and legacy.